All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going to be going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night. Vettori versus Dolidze 2, taking a look at UFC London coming up next week. And of course, to do all of that with me, as always, my co-host, my good friend, the Ohio player, a man who always gets two women's finishes in a row, Mr. Chase Parton. How are you, sir?
I am always great, especially when I get to talk about fights, man. Like this one, we will get into it, but man, I'm really hyped to talk about it. So that should tell you what kind of mood I'm in.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here. This was kind of the little card that could, I thought. You know, we're coming off of a pay-per-view in 313. That was the week before. Coming in now, I was like, yeah, this could be one of those ones that's going to be a little bit sleepy. I said that on the watch along. Turns into a whole lot of knockouts and a little bit of history made on this one. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. As you may know, if you are a regular viewer, we are going to be going over each and every one of the fights from UFC Fight Night, Vettori versus Dolidze 2. If you got something that you want to talk about in the chat, you can throw it in there. We might come back to it at a later point, but we are going to be going over all of the fights in the order they were presented. So let's get into this thing. This was Vettori versus Dolidze 2. Took place at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. This was Michael Bisping's 100th broadcast. That was a little piece of, I guess, history for him. But, you know, he was going to get the fist bump from Dominic Cruz. Dom kind of got left hanging there for a little bit until he caught it. You know, he had to kind of realize that the fist was there. Finally connected. So I was glad to see that. I was glad to see that the fist bump was not left hanging forever.
I did not see any of that stuff. So that's actually really funny that you painted a pretty good picture. You spoke of historic card. Yeah, now that you say that, I can think of a couple different things that were like, you know, kind of stand outish, not historic, but at least rare to that, you know.
Yeah, well, one that is definitely was mentioned at least on the broadcast as history was that, you know, of course, we'll talk about these first couple of fights here, but we started with two ladies' fights and we had two finishes in a row back to back for the women. So apparently that had never happened in the history of the organization before. And I was saying on the watch along that it was kind of crazy because this is now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is finish number 2 and 3 as far as women's MMA goes in the UFC for the year, aside from Fatima Klein earlier in the year. So thankfully we're starting to see some more for the ladies here, but you know, history either way. Let's keep those finishes coming, right?
Yeah, 100%. When the women get up there and they start getting finishes, it makes it really hard for me to make the pound for pound list, because when they get finished, you know, they go all the way to the bottom kind of deal. Like it's really hard to give some points, and we will talk about some, but you know, that's another story for another day. I'm really excited to talk about these first two, at least.
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah, let's get it. Well, you know, so yeah, I'm gonna start the scroll down here. Hopefully this new setup, we're changing the angle just a little bit, making ourselves a little bit larger on screen for you. Hopefully everybody in the chat is cool with seeing a little bit more of your boys. Shout out to TJF, shout out to Sarah Toby, Sigma. Appreciate all y'all checking in early. Appreciate that indeed. But as I do the scroll here, what were your overall impressions of this card, Chase?
This one was a good one. It was a roller coaster. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the way to say it, but like my expectations were subverted. I would say that. It was a pretty good one. The roller coaster was rolling. Let's go with that.
Yeah. This was one that had a lot of ups and peaks on this one. I would say like it was it delivered, and a couple of the weirder ones were like at least they were good fights. I thought honestly, like the ones that I was like, that might not have gone the way that I thought. Whatever, or, this and that. I thought that they at least were all decent. There wasn't anything that was super super bad. I mean, maybe main event you can make a little bit of a case for. We'll talk about it.
Huh?
Okay, we'll see. I mean, there you go. Maybe this is the conversation. But one thing I did want to say going into this is that the sport will always surprise you, and it certainly surprised me because I don't think that I could have done worse on my predictions if I was actively trying to get them wrong. So I think there were a couple that came through. Like the one that I thought was the biggest lock did come through. But there were so many things on here, and this is another episode, people. If you're in here early, that we've talked about this last week. I'm calling this the Danny Barlow syndrome. Okay, this is where we have a conversation on this show that I do not remember going into the day of the fight, and then I make my bets, and then remember the conversation that we had, and it completely changes my impression of what I'm looking at. And I'll talk about that when the fight comes up there too. So go back and listen to the other episodes when these fights come up for our opinions about these fighters at that time, and it'll inform you better. I need to do that myself as well.
No, I'm actually going to throw out a stipulation for myself too. A lot of these fights, these were baby brained me. These were a while ago that I was judging these people, and I didn't understand the right criteria. 2025 though, I'm locked in. Anything from the past at least 9 months, like, come on, I've been doing my service here. So I'm a little iffy on this one. I will definitely point out when my baby brain was coming into play. But for the most part, I'm not upset at my picks. I think everybody did, except for a couple, did what I thought they should be able to do.
All right. Well, then we'll go point by point here, and we'll start it off with the first fight of the night to get the ball rolling. This is Carly Giudice versus Yanisi Dubin. Now, of course, if you listened last week, you know that Chase had a female, the ladies parlay, the women's parlay, and this was leg number one of it, and this one was the accurate pick on here. So I'm gonna give you your flowers off of this one. But what did you think of this fight overall?
All right, let me start by saying that Eunice Dubin, my queen, I do hate that it ended that way, because I was really hoping you were going to have some moments where you could show some grit and get to the belt. Now, that's what I believe. That's what I was putting money down on, right? What unfortunately is the case is that crispy Carly Giudice is absolute menacing, and this is my new brain, because I went back. I know I talked about this so many times. I went back and I watched her with my new brain, and I saw it, diamond in the rough. This is a key player in the division. Oh my goodness, she was able to finish Eunice Dubin by setting up a head kick, smashed her face in. Oh my god, the picture is just,
yeah,
it's
I've been
beautiful.
seeing that. I've been seeing it go around in the Discord. Yeah, it is picturesque. The connection that was made there for sure. Really nice kick, honestly. Yeah, that was it was a fantastic timing on that one. I also, the thing for me about this fight for Giudice here was that it wasn't just the knockout kick that was great, which it certainly was, but I want to give her all of the credit for that beautiful question mark kick that she landed before that one. Her kicks were nice throughout the entire fight. Like, she is good with her kicks. That was really nice to see. And Dubin was making it a little bit too easy, I think, for the kicks. Like, Dubin looked a little flustered early in this fight. She started reaching for shots really early. Left hand straight was there for Giudice when she was going for those. But that question mark kick is my favorite kick in all of combat sports. So whenever I see one, I'm like, there you go. And the placement of it and the timing of that one, I was like, if she can land another kick like that, then this might be an early fight. And there you go. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a question mark kick that did it, but the setup was there. She knew that she was getting her rhythm down really nice and early. Dubin making it a little bit easy for her. Bingo, bango.
Yeah, I think this one could be spotted, at least in my opinion, from a mile away. Eunice I did do my scouting a little late in the game, I will say, but I was confident. Dubin's last opponents all only have one loss, basically, aside from her Contender Series matchup. All have one loss, and it was to her, basically. So I just felt like she was very green. Um, and Carly, with a 3-2 record, there was just a lot of people just said, no way that I would ever put money on that. And now putting money on knockout would be crazy. I'm not going to lie to you because, hey, I was not there for it. I was not going to be the one to say that Carly was going to just knock her into the stratosphere, but that's what she did. And whether it was, listen, it might have been a little, she was getting up. I've seen worse, but it was definitely warranted. She got kicked in the head. She probably has a concussion, I would say. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
it was,
yeah. I thought it was. I was fine with the stoppage. I didn't think that there was anything that needed to change about that. At least from my recollection of it. Even if, because honestly, like if it was probably instinctual at that point. I mean, I got it. It didn't seem like she was like right back to it. I thinking back, I guess maybe the ref did kind of jump a little early on it, but like it was a solid connection there. I was pretty okay with it.
no, I agree. I could just make the argument because she definitely, and when she got up, she wasn't like wobbling around. She was kind of in it. She just had a bloody nose. She definitely got kicked in the face. So warranted stop. I mean, it put her to the ground. But unfortunate ending for the hype that Dubin had because, man, she was the queen for a little bit. I'll tell you that. And now it's unfortunate. Like she's one of two women to get finished in 2025. So she has
Yeah.
to be somewhere near the bottom, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's another one of those deals. I mean,
Oh,
with
sorry, three. Sorry, three up until this moment too. Sorry,
right,
let me correct
sure,
myself.
yeah. No, absolutely. It's unfortunate that you don't get to see more of the skill set in fights like this. Now with Judice, she has other fights, obviously, and one of the big reasons that you were such a champion of her is because you were saying how close her other fights were, split decision, and her last two, right? Is that I
Yeah.
think that might be it. So yeah, so I mean, you've seen a little bit more out of Judice to know that that was a good pick. Dubin, I would like to see, what other skills that she might have. But what we now have seen is that she can get kicked pretty easily because it was not just the knockout kick. Again, the question mark kick was right to the face as well. That very well could have been a knockout had it been, a little bit more on the button or a little bit more power, whatever. You know what I mean? So, yeah, not a great look for Dubin starting out. This is common with Contender Series people. And of course, the hype coming off of the knockout on the Contender Series has to be put in the context of who she was fighting, where these people are at in their careers, yada, yada. So I don't necessarily think that we need to count Dubin out altogether just yet, but being knocked out in your debut is not the greatest look.
Well, I mean, she honestly doesn't have a fighting style that puts on a great set of inspiration because she just goes out and throws haymakers. Like that's just all she
Yeah,
does. I mean, and she's knocked everybody out up until this point. Do you blame her? I mean, this is kind of a skyrocket in competition. This is somebody, I not necessarily Carly, but the UFC in terms. Like she hasn't really been against somebody who's actually going to put up that much of a fight against her kind of deal. Like we
sure.
haven't seen her finishes. They could just be one punch and they just like fall down kind of deal. Like so Eunice, I've heard you had ground game. You did not utilize that one bit. You didn't shoot. I mean, you tried to do your little fake takedown and overhand. I guess that's probably your own. Like that's in the weapon wheel. I guess that's like one of two things besides spam overhands and jabs and straights. Like actually, I don't even know if she did that much of the jabbing, but
Well,
it.
I mean, the
It's
times
what
that she was the times that she was throwing, she was really just reaching for shots. That was the thing that I had noticed is that why I think that she was getting flustered is because the kicks were early for Judice, so the distance was being created based on that a little bit. So anytime that she was trying to enact what is her normal game plan, based on what we're talking about, at least, she was getting opposition coming back at her that was making it so that it was difficult for her to do that. And I think that it was starting to get her a little frustrated early in the fight. I mean, this is a first round knockout here. So, I mean, it wasn't even that long. We're talking about a minute, 40 seconds into this round. So there really was not that much of tape to go off of when it comes to this fight specifically to kind of give you a more accurate impression of everything. But that's based on the limited information we did get. That's how it looked to me. And sometimes when the kick lands, and that's just the end of the story.
Well, I think in hindsight, what I'll say is the end of this fight started right because Carly took a couple shots. She took some big shots, unnecessarily early. Dubin kind of hit her with her biggest shots to the time, and Carly ate it, and that was probably right when we should have known it was over. Because like if she didn't just flatline her, like what honestly was Dubin gonna be able to do? In hindsight, I guess. So
Yeah,
it's
easy to say now, of course, but look, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what she can come up with next fight. I mean, she's young too, right? I mean, she's like early 20s, I want to say.
I don't. I want to say that that's not true, but
Oh,
maybe
really?
I'm wrong.
Maybe on
28. Okay.
Oh, geez. Okay, never mind. I thought she was like 23. Holy shit. Okay,
I
well,
think she stepped away. Elite in the Discord kept saying she stepped away from the sport for 5 years or something. I don't know if that's true or not. Like
we're talking about Dubin here.
I feel like that's what he kept saying, but maybe he was just on the rant.
Yeah, he could have been being a little hyperbolic, maybe. But regardless,
2019 to 2024.
Wow. Okay. Then, maybe I amend what I'm saying here a little bit based on that information.
So take the respect. There you go.
Sure. There you go. Yeah. Respect where it's due. But, I don't think that she's necessarily going to get cut over it just yet. She did make it into the organization. They usually give them at least one more shot. So keep this information in mind for the next fight, because now you're seeing at least the pattern that we're starting to all see here. And I did want to mention, because you're talking about your new brain and how explosive it is, with all of this new way of thinking. If you're talking about Carly Giudice's record and that 3-2 or 2-3 rather, I am going to be championing my girl Sam Hughes in a little bit, but we're going to get to that when we get to it. Yeah, I mean, anything else on?
No, I'm ready for the next one. I'll listen.
Right. Let's keep it moving here. This is Josiane Nunes versus Priscilla Cachoeira. Go for it, brother.
I'm going to interrupt first.
Sure.
I'll let you bash. I'm going to say first, I think I have a really solid argument for why I think this wasn't anyway, go ahead.
I'm not going to bash. The chat should be the people bashing over here, because it's not the incorrect prediction, at least for me. It's the emphasis on the incorrect prediction.
Now, I want to explain why there is certain things in the sport that are unpredictable, and it has nothing to do with the fight itself, because hear me out. And I think this is one of those times where I picked up on a pattern, right? So Nunes, I've watched her before, and she fought a lot different, in my opinion, than she fought in this fight. In this fight, she did not look like she was ready for 3 rounds, right? So leads me to believe the cut was not good, and she had to go out there and try to finish it in the first round, knowing she doesn't have the power to do so. On my end, it was a bad call, but maybe that was just her game plan. Go out there, slug with her, and that's something that's unpredictable. In the cage, you can predict a little bit more than that. But on my end, I think Nunes, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I think something was up. She wasn't feeling good. The flu's going around, guys. I think she wasn't feeling good. Maybe she, a bad cut, because she got chinned relatively pretty easy, and she folded kind of quick. Like, it wasn't the craziest uppercut. Like, honestly, these were short uppercuts compared to like a bolo type of thing, so the fact that she kind of got folded instantly, it just didn't. And she was fighting a lot different. Like, she's normally a little more measured. I felt like she didn't just go sprint at the fucking bitch and just throw the weirdest, the craziest. She normally throws meaty hooks, but like they're not like that crazy. So I just feel this wasn't as horrible because maybe something was up. But on the other end, I'm a big fan of this girl across the cage now, Priscilla Cachoeira. Right. Oh my goodness. Listen. Shout out to the number 4 ranked pound for pound woman on 2025, Priscilla Cachoeira, with the uppercut finish. She's knocking heads off. She's dropping women. She's folding them to the ground. It's actually so crazy how good she is. I don't even believe it. She actually walked it. Listen, they want to talk about zombies. I didn't really see the zombie thing right here because the punches were not going to fucking fit. Anyway, she did look like a fucking savage, though. She was walking in and she was actually standing there. She was popping. Dude, she fucking looked good. This was like 2025 Cachoeira. Listen, asterisk 2025 Cachoeira. I don't care anything before. This is This is big brain Chase Cachueta. She may lose the next one, but for right here, she was on top. I swear to you. And that is because Nunes, I'm gonna say, you had to go balls to the wall. And Cachueta is just that build that can actually knock women out. And shout out to her. She's actually a true professional. Like if you noticed in the bottom thing, this one didn't help you too much at the start of the fight. It said Cachueta has been an underdog in every single one of her fights. So I was thinking like, oof, that you can't really base too much on that. But the fact that she came out here, she makes weight. She doesn't have bad cuts. She comes out here in shape. She comes out here ready to fucking fight. She doesn't switch up the game plan because she's not going to wrestle with this, but she's just going to knock her head off. And number 4, pound for pound, Priscilla Cachoeira. I am a fan.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Look, I got to here because you're killing me right now. A true professional. This may be the new explosive big brain Chase over here, but I am thinking farther back down the line. And Priscilla Cachoeira is one of the dirtiest fighters in this sport, men or women. She is terrible when it comes to the fouls that she has gotten away with. I'm talking fish hooks. I'm talking eye gouges. She is a dirtbag in there. So what I have to say about this one is I was like, at least in this victory, it was completely clean. There was no kinds of wonkiness as far as that went. And I will agree, her striking looked extremely sharp. Her shots were timed well. She was flowing extremely well. Her movement was really nice. Like, she took a little bit of time off after she got completely eviscerated by Jasmine Jasudavicius, and she looks much improved because of that. So I'm going to give her as much credit as I can give her. But to say that she is a consummate professional, the 2025 brain has to go back a little bit farther to acknowledge the dirt baggery of this woman. But regardless, I'll put that to the side as well, because this one was clean. And really, I think that she was picking up on a lot of the kind of obvious things that she should have been reading. So I was happy about that too. She was making good reads. Nunes kept dropping her head. The uppercuts were there. I mean, uppercut KO made sense. So it was like all, 1, 2, 3, you follow down the line, connect A to B, and that's what she did. So I was happy with that aspect of it for her. All of those other things aside. So now if she's number 4 on your pound for pound, it still is going to hurt me, but I can understand it. It's an understandable pain.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we are early into the year, so women finishing, it doesn't necessarily make you go to the top because, for Priscilla, this was against somebody who I obviously the skill level is not there, and Fatima Klein, the skill level that she faces definitely not up there either. But Priscilla, you're just going to get some points knocked because Nunes was, I'm just going to say she wasn't there, man. I just don't know what it was. Something was just not the same. I'm telling you, I ain't never watched her fight like that. I would not put no money on a fight like that. Wait, listen. So that was crazy. But
yeah,
the fact that Priscilla was able to get the finish, I mean, journeyman, that's all you can say. That's really what she is. And at least she's able to finish in her journey. I mean, you can at least say that.
Yeah, well, look, I had thought that Nunes had looked better in her fight against Jacqueline Cavalcante.
Ain't that crazy? She looked pretty good against her. She damn near won, ain't she?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. So, I mean, people say that I'm crazy for that one, whatever. You can think what you want to think about that fight. But that being said, she looked good in that fight, obviously gets knocked out here. Cachoeira coming back, getting a win after a loss. I think that if the stars align, then maybe Priscilla Cachoeira goes in there and maybe her versus Cavalcante makes sense at some point. I would like that fight.
Yeah, hopefully Cavalcante wins. Then we can see Priscilla knock out another can, probably.
Well, and look, I mean, I'm not mincing words here. I was hoping that this was going to be the continuation of Cachoeira's downfall based on the dirtballness that I was talking about earlier. I'm happy that it's not because it was such a nice knockout. I'll give her credit for that. Also did not realize that Cachoeira, I guess, is a former crack abuser. She was saying in her post fight.
That was what's his name?
Fabiano. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, I used to do crack. I mean, like I quote, I mean, if that's what she said, I mean, okay.
I think that that was the clip that somebody had been, going around out of context, Fabiano, yeah. that little part of that speech. Look, I'm very happy that Cachoeira has turned her life around. She was saying that she wants her bonus to help other people turn their lives around. That's all awesome. Congrats on getting clean. keep your fights clean, and maybe I can have a better impression of you.
Dude, clean 2025. It's actually a really good. Hey, I'm here for it. Priscilla,
Hey, I'm with
you're
it
on
as well.
top right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned at the top of the stream here, this was history making because this is the first time that there have been back-to-back women's finishes on a UFC card.
Yeah, that is
How
pretty
about that?
interesting. One of the most historic things on the cards, actually, of the year, probably. And that's pretty cool. I was gonna say also Priscilla did get that bonus, so I wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, nice. Good. Well, and so
I was gonna make a
all is
bad
well.
joke about
Oh,
maybe what if she did. Does anybody know if she gave it to the people? Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
for real.
But
Yeah, you're always giving money and wondering where it's going. But no, yeah, hopefully everything's on the up and up, and I want to believe until I hear otherwise. How about that?
yeah, but no, historic moment for the knockouts. I'm actually glad to be here for it. It's almost like it was here for me to watch, kind of deal. Like the sport waited for Chase to witness two knockouts from two cold ass women on UFC Vegas, whatever the fuck number this is.
104, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like, gotta love it, man.
There you
Thank
go.
you, UFC gods.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've really, if you're only like what, like 2 years in, basically, or something around there, like you came in at a really good time because I mean, you've been now through all of last year, which was a great year for the sport, including 300, of course, and into this year, which continues. So yeah, there you go. The sport, the stars are aligned for you in the sport.
Well, it's also crucial to note if we just got the first two back-to-back finishes in the UFC, God knows when another organization is ever going to get that. Or if they already have, hey, shout out to them. Maybe, I don't know. Let
Yeah,
us know in the comments.
for sure. Yeah, for the ladies, that does seem like it could very well be a tall order, but who knows? Maybe there's some organization that's just killer, or maybe Invicta. Invicta probably had it, right? That would make sense.
Here you go. There you
All
go.
right. Well, good deal there for Priscilla Cachoeira. Less of a good deal for Daniel Barreth. This is Andre Lima versus Daniel Barreth. This is one that really hurt me early because I thought that Barreth was a really sharp underdog here. And I don't know, perhaps our opinions about Lima may have to evolve slightly based on this fight. I don't know. What do you think, Chase?
Well, you actually said it perfect. So what I will say is this is the first baby brain moment, I think. I think when I originally watched Andre Lima, and maybe he's just gotten better from what we've seen. And that is possible. He's very young. That's what he's supposed to do. When I first saw him in my baby brain state, I don't think I appreciated what he was doing. Maybe he just didn't have the right opponent that he could showcase his skills properly. And maybe that's going to be and listen, I'm not trying to hate on the dude still, but maybe that's going to be an issue down the road. Anyway, this performance here, it showed me a lot. And I'm not saying that I was heavy on Daniel. I didn't think it was the worst pick because, like I said, I was waiting for the moment that Andre Lima was going to slip up. But I think I'll change, and I'll be okay with flipping sides. And then if it does happen, that's okay. We'll worry about that when it happens. But
Right.
for now, I think I can get behind Andre Lima. He's really young. I think that's what I overlooked as baby brain. I didn't take into account like he's 24, 20 or something like 25, something like that. I don't know. Super young. That was something that I didn't take into account. Oh, he's gonna like actually get better from what I'm seeing right now. Like he doesn't have to be Josh Van right now. He might whatever.
Mhm.
So I think right here, I think again, subverting my expectations, but I wasn't upset. Like I think I was happy to see a flyweight get to the pinnacle of where I see the division should be. Like this is a good prospect now. At once I didn't see it, and I'm like, this flyweight guy, maybe we shouldn't, blah 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 blah. But as of right now, 11-0, okay, I'm down with it. Let's see you continue fighting. You're not as active as a lot of people, especially in the flyweight division, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see you go up and see if I'm right or wrong. I think that's what is key here.
Yeah, so I'm agreeing with everything here. The thing that I noticed the most about Lima in this fight that I did not see in previous fights was the activity in his footwork. I thought he was a lot lighter on his feet because he really, I guess he's a kickboxing guy, but he's got a lot of Muay Thai elements to his game. So I thought that he was more of a Muay Thai guy to begin with, but they were talking about his kickboxing, and I don't know if they were just saying, oh, his kickboxing, or if he's like a kickboxing specialist or not. Either
Right.
way, though, generally with the Muay Thai guys, they're more willing to be a little more flat-footed and kind of stand and bang and let the fight sort of come to them, which is what I was seeing in his previous fights a lot more. Like, he really wasn't having to be very explosive, or not explosive, more dynamic, I guess is the better word. He wasn't having to do a lot of like lateral movements and like shake off shots and things like that. Like, he was kind of just really confident in standing forward and almost Poatan-esque and when it comes to that aspect of it, just like hit me with your best shot kind of thing is what it seemed like to me. And the guys who he was fighting were not able to bring what they needed to bring to the table. This fight, I thought he looked a lot more active on his feet. I thought he looked like he was seeking to engage and respond more often, which is, a sign that like he's putting the pieces together. So it could be what you just outlined there, that he's evolving as a fighter and getting better. Because Bareth came out in this fight like he was there to fight. I mean, it wasn't like he was holding back at all. I mean, he started off with putting an effort forward, and he's definitely a durable guy. I mean, he took a lot of damage in that fight. You could see how much he was wearing, not just because he's a fair-skinned guy, so the the redness shows a lot more, but he was all bloodied up in the nose. I mean, he really he started to accrue a lot of damage throughout the course of this thing, and Lima was really teeing off, and when Bars went to the ground, that really showed that Lima can hang there too. And I didn't realize that he was a brown belt, but he showed that, he definitely has those skills as well. So maybe more of a well-rounded guy than I was giving him credit for.
Yeah, I mean, you speak of well-rounded. The next thing I was gonna say is like the performance was basically everything you would want to see. Like he just, and on the feet, he just put him to shame, boxed him up, busted him up. Actually had a lot of good moments with some elbows. I think, if I remember correctly, but either way, and then, and then gets it to the ground and then finishes by sub. I didn't think he was actually going to finish. I was praying for the bell some way, somehow for Perez, but that choke was in there and he got it. So shout out to Andre Lima.
Yeah. Rear naked choke got the job done, and that was his first submission victory of his career. So how about that?
This is why you got to bet that crazy number, man. That plus 1,200. It may be crazy, but you got to know if your dude's that guy. God.
Yeah. And there's a couple of other ones on this card that we'll get to as well, where it was like, man, I want to meet the person that hit on that, but
Right.
Good stuff there for Lima. Yeah, like we both of us been saying. I mean, I think that this does evolve the thinking a little bit. We both were kind of skeptical of this guy based on some of those other performances, but it's nice to see that if he is pushed a little bit farther, because even though Bareth was taking a lot of damage and overall the fight was a little bit one-sided, it was still, in my opinion, at least, a little bit more than Lima had faced in his other fights, as far as dynamics go. So, the more that happens going forward, the more that he's going to have to show. He's got to meet the fight halfway. You know what I mean? So it's like, and then overcome that and, step past that line. So he did that in this fight. If he can continue to do that, as you said, now 11-0, I mean, ranked competition is right around the corner. He's calling for it. I think anybody who's watching is probably like, yeah, that's making sense now too. We'll see who they pair him up with next. But if he can continue to be that guy the way that he was in the fight like this, then I mean, the ceiling could be higher than anticipated.
It'll be Charles Johnson. So
that very well could be, and it would hurt my heart if Charles Johnson is becoming the flyweight gatekeeper. But that's going to remain to be seen. It's looking more likely than not, fight over fight. But well, the time will tell. We're still young into it.
True. Yeah. So I like Andre Lima. I'm ready to see what's next for him.
Yeah, I think I'm still falling in the same camp that you kind of laid out earlier, where you're like, I'm tentatively on the train now, but like if the downfall happens, then it's going to be like, oh, okay, we still had the thoughts from before, but you're going with 2025 brain. I'm going to follow you with 2025 brain as well.
There we go.
All right, let's move it on along here. The third of our ladies' fights, my girl, Sam Hughes versus Stephanie Luciano. Man, oh man. You go ahead and start it, because I got a lot to say about Sam here.
I think this is another baby brain moment, right, for me with Stephanie Luciano. I'm not trying to say Stephanie Luciano is bad. I actually think she fought very well, and I thought she was going to get the nod. But in hindsight, I can tell you why she didn't. But in the contender series with Luciano, I'm pretty sure the same series was Carly Judice as well. The baby brain in me just I just looked at Luciano because she was a warrior. She was like fighting up until the bell, and then in the third round, she was like she was trying to knock heads off. So I didn't see too much of that here because she was getting held down towards the end of the rounds. Like she wasn't able to have that second win, like I'm gonna steal the round moment, because Sam Hughes was able to get 3 takedowns and hold her down for 4 minutes. And it was about 2 minutes each round, I believe it was. No, yeah, it probably adds
Yeah,
about
something like that.
yeah, she was able to get her down at the end of both 2 and 3 after getting boxed up on the feet. It wasn't terrible. She was actually doing well in the striking, well enough that it would have been close without the takedowns, but she was able to secure the win because she's that veteran move, secure the takedown, get some good strikes in there. She actually landed some really good strikes in the ground and pound it. So I give her that, but it was not the one that I wanted to happen. So I was really it was kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. This one sucked, but I
Yeah,
didn't have any parlays left, so didn't matter. I was already done.
fair, fair. I mean, look, this was a great pace in this fight. It was a tough fight for both of these ladies. Definitely, at least through the first round. You know, some of the ground games swung it a little bit later, but both of them came to fight. So I give Luciano credit. You know, where it is due. There, you know, she's definitely going after it. She's not in there trying to just pussyfoot around. I mean, she's out really trying to win fights. So I appreciated that, but when it comes to Sam Hughes, I have to say that when it comes to people whose records do not reflect them as a fighter, Sam Hughes, and that is where my 2025 brain should have kicked in, because I have said that about Sam Hughes before. I think that she navigates fights nicely. She has good strength. I wouldn't say that she's like the most powerful person on the planet, but she's strong enough to get the job done as needed, and she's good on the ground. So all of those things together form a better fighter than 9-6 coming into this fight would have like led you to believe. So I'm all in on Sam Hughes now. I think that the all of the growing pains should be out of the way. She still has an uphill battle, of course, with 6 losses on her record. So it's going to take a lot of wins to make something for herself beyond being the now 10-6 fighter that she is. But I've got a lot of praise for her in this fight. It was a close fight. I just thought that once Sam really found her rhythm in round 2, most especially, that Luciano was playing catch up through a lot of the rest of the fight. And she nearly got finished in that second round too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I will say this also. I think the new age excuse me. I think the new age of women that are coming up through the contender series. I can name 3, 3, 4. Actually, there was a lot on this last contender series that I thought were pretty good. But they're just really coming out here, and they're all some dogs. Like I don't know who they grew up watching. I'm gonna say it's Joanna Jake, whatever, however the fuck you
Joanna
say
on
it.
Jacek.
That they fight, dude. They throw hands, these new girls, and I really appreciate it. I hope the love and the passion for the game doesn't fade throughout their time in the sport, because like what I'm seeing right now, it's good. Like they fight like they're trying to win. Actually, like they don't come out here. There's no Laura Murphys. There's no fucking Penningtons. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm just trying to hate. But like these people come out here and they're dogs. I really like these young women that are coming up. Shout out to Sam Hughes, though. I'm not going to give her too much credit because she should have lost this one. But Stephanie Luciano, you're still on to bigger and better things. Sam Hughes, you get to stick around for another fight where you probably stop a prospect's chances by getting fucking Sal D'Amato or something. Derek Clearly to fucking rob you.
Well,
Whatever.
to this exact point, I'm glad that you led into it, because this fight and fights like this are why I always say that fighters need to put a stamp on these rounds. You have to make it definitive. Luciano let a close fight slip through her fingers because she didn't have enough definitive defining moments in this fight. Now, I always rewatch all these fights. I do rewatches on every single fight before we do this show. So in the moment, it feels one way. After the fact, it feels another way often. I think in this one, I do think that Hughes edged it, but it was very, very, very close. And a split decision like this, I mean, you can make a lot better of a case when you have those big defining moments. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go out there and be the most explosive fighter at all times. You don't have to run and gun. It doesn't have to be, the crazy looping shots or anything like that. But there has to be that one thing that you can draw, like that the one on this very show, when we come back, say, that was the thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And she just didn't have enough of that. I will say, though, that in this split decision, somebody giving her Luciano a 10-8 round in that second round, I'm assuming that's what it was, is a little crazy. That's a little fucking wild. I don't think that there was anything that should have been 10-8 worthy in that fight. I mean, depending on how you judge the sport, maybe you see it a little bit differently if you want to be that hard-nosed stickler about things. But split decision nonetheless. I think that 29-28 was the right call for Sam Hughes on this one personally.
Yeah, this one was okay because I can just chalk it up to like, oh, I see what I saw before, but I see where it was a little flawed. I think that's what it was. And also to that point is like, I don't think Luciano took as big of a leap in her skill as maybe she should have by this time. Like, she hasn't been here for a little bit. Same with Carl, but different with Carly Judy. Sorry, I should say, because I saw the same skills as I once saw in her matchup, way back long ago. Like, Luciano is somebody that was going to have to grow some skills and get some new techniques and methods. And I actually think she's pretty good at BJJ too, but I could be wrong about that. But she didn't really show anything different from what I'm already seeing. And that's, you got to show at least some steps in the game, I think.
I think that's a very, very good point, actually. Yeah, that the evolution needs to continue for her for sure. And as far as on the Hughes side of things, I think that you're seeing kind of a similar baseline for her. Like I don't think that she's necessarily like shored up all of the holes in the game or anything like that. It's kind of just a consistent level of output, which is why she ends up in the situations that she's in, where sometimes she'll win, sometimes she'll lose. That being said, just realize that with a fighter like that, it's Angela Hill syndrome for me. You know what I mean? It's the person that she's going to win when you need her to lose. She's going to lose when you need her to win. So just be careful with your parlays based on that. I believe that they had said on the broadcast that Hughes has been the underdog in like all of her fights or something along those lines.
So same with her? Oh, yeah, it was Priscilla too. Priscilla has been a dog in all of her fights. So if Sam Hughes too, that's crazy.
Yeah, something like that, or at least the majority of them.
Yeah.
And it's like you put that plus money next to her name, and she's going to upset your parlays. So just keep that in mind. I like Sam Hughes. I hope that she sticks around, and I hope that she does elevate the skill set a little bit more. Like what we're saying, the constant evolution is what sets people apart as well. You start off at one level, and you continue to evolve and get better, and shore up those holes in your game. That's how you get to the higher levels of the sport.
So hear me out, right?
Yep.
On the tail of the tape, it'll tell you what percentage of fighters over the age or under the age of something have beat the other. I think they be subtly changing it because I swear to God, I have seen it say 65% for the younger person, and then that motherfucker loses to the old person more than 65% of the time on the year. So they must be subtly changing it from like 23 to 24 to 25. Like, I don't know, because listen, listen here. I've seen a lot go down this year, and it ain't been a long year. So just keep that in mind.
Well, the stats continue to raise and change as the fights happen. So maybe they're just evolving with the new information. But I mean, if you're good on this fight, the next fight is playing right into what you're talking about here. So I think we can move on to it. Let's talk about Carlos Vera versus Josias Musasa, 37 years old for Mr. Vera.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. Dude, Annie was on like this most recent season of oh, so was Cody. So I'm hating, and they're the same age. But yeah, this one is exactly why I did not want to bet on this. I wanted to stay away from this fight specifically because like just something about it. It was too good to be true. Like, oh yeah, Musasa knockout. Like, there's gonna be two people on the card. It was either going to be Vallejos or it was going to be Musasa. We weren't going to get two guaranteed walk-in, walkouts kind of deal. Musasa, though, gosh, I don't know. It was crazy to see. And we'll go on to Carlos Vera. This dude here, he actually put on a lightning in a bottle performance. He comes out here and puts this dude to shame on the feet, puts him on the ground with some crazy kicks. First off, it wasn't just the ending Wonder Boy sequence that he fucking had. It was the spin kick first that he caught him clean on the chin. Like,
Hell yeah.
and shout out to Masasa. I mean, if he ate the first one, the second one should have been like breakfast kind of deal. Like the first kick was dinner kind of, but that second kick was just right on the money. That should show you that it doesn't have to be the most powerful. Like it's just got to be right on the motherfucking button.
Yep.
And Carlos Vera, holy shit, this dude got him on the ground, got him subbed, and had Ryan fucking Hall in his corner. So there's that. I mean, did that in front of the king. So
Well, look, man, I will admit that I did not think that Carlos had it in him. I also did not think that Musasa was very good on the Contender Series. So I was happy to be proven wrong about Carlos. Viva Ecuador. But unfortunately, when it comes to Musasa, I feel like this is another one. You remember Muin Gafarov? We were talking about him not too long ago. This feels similar to that, and that's actually something I'm going to say about the next fight too. But I feel like sometimes you get these fights where the person who wins looks amazing, but the competition kind of sells them a little bit more than the actual skills. However, when it comes to Carlos here, more than the next fight, this is the best that Carlos has ever fought, period. Point blank, period. This dude, I've seen a couple of his fights now. He was on fire with the kicks in this fight. Now, granted, Musasa, new to the sport, newer to the sport, just coming in off the Contender Series, maybe a little bit out of his element. But either which way, I mean, whatever the case may be, he was really bringing it with the kicks in this fight. I think that a big reason I counted him out is because of how small he is, and he overcomes that with the speed and the range attacks, his ranged attacks. So it seems a little counterintuitive based on those criteria, but you saw what I saw there. So, I mean, what works, works. And I very much appreciate it. So I'm very happy for Carlos on this one. And Musasa, I kind of saw that coming, so I should have stuck with my gut as far as that went.
Yeah, Musasa though, listen, I've said, and I think this was my general statement before about him, is like he's got the genetics to be at least decent in the sport. And he's decently young, where if he just gets a few different things going and he maybe doesn't face a little tornado of a guy, like maybe something will come. But as of right now, yeah, it should be back to the drawing board. I mean, you made the weight, you look good, and you were fast, I guess. Like I said, athleticism is going to get you a long way. So as long as you get some good things going and don't get caught, like I think it's one of those things too. It's like he was looking decent, but and then he just like let himself, let his guard down. Basically, like I know it's kind of cliche, but like he let his guard down basically. So it was unfortunate, but this is exactly why I was afraid to put money on this one.
Oh, yeah, understood. To Musasa's credit, though, I did want to make note that I appreciated that when Vera went to the ground, you were just talking about how Ryan Hall is in his corner. Obviously, Ryan Hall, good on the ground when he can actually get people there, when he's not rolling and rolling and rolling. But, jiu-jitsu specialist, a very high level one at that. So, training with someone like that, the ground game should be there for Vera as well. I appreciated that Musasa, when Vera was trying to bait him to the ground, he did exactly what I've talked about on this very show many times now. He stood back and said, "Get up." And I appreciate that, because obviously Musasa knows that his bread and butter is going to be in the striking, going to be in getting in there, grinding, making it a little bit dirtier. Now, right, of course, he got caught. We just went over that part of it. So there are things that he needs to fix, but he certainly knows that his ground game is not his strong suit, I would assume, because he's not, he wasn't actively following. So don't go to the ground when you're stronger on the feet. That should just be the meta, is in my opinion. So I appreciated that aspect of it, but wheel kick was where it was, and the wheel kick was the first one. The high kick to the rear naked choke submission finish was the finishing sequence there, which was even better than the first kick. So Yeah, Musasa just needs better instincts when it comes to head kick defense, I suppose.
Yeah, like I said, he's young. He should be able to get it done. I mean, not get it, get some different, get some more skills acquired so that he does better in his next matchup, which will be interesting to see how much time he takes off. Like he's kind of young, so is he gonna, a lot of people when they're young they jump back in a little quicker than they should, or is he gonna take time off and whether he's gonna like miss opportunities, but you're not young forever. The sport can lap you pretty quick, so you're gonna have to figure something out and figure it out quick. Get on the drawing board, get some new stuff going.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, I did have a kind of a philosophical question when it comes to Josias Musasa. Now, I made an entire video on the Yama channel about another fighter named Temba Garimbo. You know this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
His entire country, which is in Africa as well, is not a fan of him. He's not a very well-liked fighter, and a lot of people back home for Temba kind of prey on his downfall. Do you think that there is any potential for the Democratic Republic of Congo to be turning on our man Musasa over this loss?
I mean, him losing don't make it easier. So I think they got a lot of fuel if they're gonna hate on him. They're gonna be posting that shit everywhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's the point, right? Is it's like when you're in a sport like this, especially when it's a singular sport, you're not on a team, you are one person. It's like, it's a lot easier to blend into a soccer team than it is to be the front and center. You are, you are elevated or devalued based on solely on yourself, on your skills. So when it comes to something like that, and, obviously we saw it with Garimbo, you got to put on for your country, I suppose. And if not, then you might be in a similar boat.
My question is more philosophical, I think.
Yeah.
Did you see Carlos Vero do the somersault?
Yes, I did. He did do the roll through somersault. It was a little bit strange because it didn't seem like something he needed to do, but whatever works, I suppose. I mean, he did get back up to his feet after that. So it was just an odd thing to see, but yeah, I guess there's the Ryan Hall influence right there.
What's also kind of interesting, and maybe it's just me, he kind of looks like Ryan Hall a little bit too. Like I think that like when they were standing next to each other, I was like, is that Ryan Hall or are they both just Ryan Hall? Like I don't know. It was kind of crazy.
Well, maybe if Ryan Hall takes some of the kicks from Vera takes some of the ground game from Hall, combine that into one fighter, and you've got a really dangerous bantamweight on your hands there.
Yeah, his name's Chrome Gracie.
Oh, no. That should never be applied to anybody. Bite your tongue, sir.
All right,
let's move on. But good job for Vera, though. I do want to say that. All right, moving on. Su Young Yu versus AJ Cunningham. AJ Cunningham, 3 months sober. They made a point to say
wait, really?
I said, bro. They on the broadcast were like, this dude's, he's getting himself locked in, and I mean, correct me if I am wrong, anybody out there, but I believe that I had heard that on the broadcast them say that he he's turning things around, and he was 3 months sober. Well, I thought it was an interesting note.
What I think is key is that he's just on a New Year's resolution still. That's just the New Year. Yeah. That's crazy.
Well, shout out to him for keeping it going for a little while. I also do want to mention just off rip. I think that if we already talked about one of his fights, this might have already come up on the show before, but Cunningham is a person who has gone through a terrible lot in life early on in his life. He had an extremely traumatic upbringing. If you know some of the details of it, I won't go into all of the specifics, but a lot of abuse, some like really like kind of beyond the pale type of abuse from his father and his family, whatever. He went through a very rough childhood. So I don't want to, be disrespectful of any of that. I'm very happy for him that he's been able to overcome all of that and is now fighting at the higher levels here. But that being said, someone I saw online said of AJ Cunningham, you ever wonder what it would be like if you yourself were in a UFC fight? And I was like, man, frowny face because of that, because Cunningham, man, this was a tough one to watch.
You know, I love the fact that this dude, Soo Young Yu, he may not be the best, right? But he's at least to the common social media guy, he's marketable. You, like, this is you, man. This is me. Like, yes, like this is you, like literally. And he may not be the most exciting. He is efficient, though. I'll tell you though, he gets shit done, and he don't play around about it. He's gonna smother you, and he's going, dude. Control time, so fucking 8 minutes. You know, this dude, he's kind of an animal. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens against a different opponent. But if he's able to wrestle somebody who, excuse me, AJ Cunningham was saying that he's rehydrated to 151, the day after or something like that. So if if you are able to wrestle a dude that's, a lot heavier than you, and he's coming down 2 weight classes kind of deal to try to be a weight bully. And shout out to him. He actually said he had a really good cut, so I won't hate on that. But you yourself came out here and dominated AJ Cunningham. So I actually really appreciate the performance, especially like I said, with the size difference going on there, with the weight kind of thing. And the numbers were warranted. So shout out to you.
Well, as I had mentioned in the previous fight, much like Muin Gafarov, this fight made you look a lot better than I think he actually is. I mean, look, the last fight that I saw of this dude, he was on autopilot, basically. This fight, I feel like he was definitely a little bit more locked in, but didn't really have to be. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Cunningham was inactive at a lot of times in this fight, and it was very obvious that he was beyond his depth of skill. He just looked a little lost in this fight, to be perfectly honest. And I mean, again, I'm not trying to hate too much on the guy because he has been through a lot, but like I feel bad on his like whole UFC run, really, because his first fight, short notice fight against Ludovic Klein. I mean, talk about going up against a savage there. And now with this you guy, I mean, I think that just the skill level like really started to show, like, it started to pull away. If it starts out even, it just was like, it really started to separate very quickly throughout this fight. And we did get to see some of the fabled jiu-jitsu, as he calls it. And it's not
Even
bad.
though it's just fucking brute wrestling and just like laying on. Yeah, I mean, he ain't never done a jujitsu move in his career, I'm pretty sure. Like, this dude literally just lays on top of people. I mean,
well, and
it's his own thing. So, I mean,
and
I
it
guess
works. If Cunningham has zero answers for it, then fine, right? I mean, you get what you need out of it if you're not getting anything back. And that's what I'm trying to say about these fights, where it's like, I'm not trying to hate on these guys, but it, like, don't think that this makes these dudes world enders when they're in fights like this. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, even when Cunningham got the triangle, you smartly got his elbow in the crotch to keep the space and negate the pressure. Like, that's nice work, things like that. You know what I mean? But like the overall impression, it just, I don't know. I need to see like a better matchup to really be sold on these guys.
Yeah, but like, you just might be a guy that'll, every performance that he gets, you may think, oh, this is a good style. Like, oh, this is, AJ Cunningham plus 425 dog. Oh, he's definitely going to be able to pull something off here. Like, any type of style, you will just be able to negate. And I actually give him props because he's not just like going to hold you up against the cage and knee you all. Like, he'll actually get inside control and hold them down for a really good amount of time, which I'll say that about somebody else here in a little bit too, sadly. But you are just able to do a lot of good things when it comes to the wrestling. I do actually appreciate this too, because he's doing it in a fashion that's different. It is different than other people are doing it. So I guess that makes it at least refreshing to see. And he's winning, so.
Yeah, and he also does have some decent power shots when he does throw his hands. I mean, Cunningham was wearing a good amount of damage, so I'll give him a little bit of credit there as well. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I want to, like, show me more in the next fight and then push me over the edge. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm like right there at the cusp based on something like this. But being that he was sort of, kind of skywalking through his first fight, this fight, Cunningham is just not that great of a competitor. Like, I need to see somebody who's going to bring a fight to him in a legitimate way. If you can do that against that guy, then you have sold me.
True. Yeah. I'm sold on you. I'm not going to lie. You's one of my favorites. You are. Like,
Oh,
you.
There you go. Fair enough. I mean, I will say though that to my point of all of this, I did think it was a little unfortunate and slightly ridiculous that he was not able to finish this fight.
Well, if you're paying attention, the expert analyst Minty Betts had you inside the distance, which I was trying to root for her. And because like out of all the people, I think she actually does have some pretty decent ones because she throws a little extra prop in there that makes it a good fucking bet. So you inside the distance, I was hoping for the finish because I thought she was going to be killing it. This would have been 2 weeks in a row that she put you on type of deal. But he wasn't able to finish. It was unfortunate, but that just shows you the grit of AJ Cunningham, I guess. It wasn't like a brutal, domination. Like you said, you just kind of gets an autopilot, which it works, but there's going to be a time when it doesn't. Until somebody kicks the autopilot off, we're going to have to figure out what he actually is able to do when he's not the aggressor or if he's not able to get his game plan off. So I think that'll be key.
And yeah, no, I agree. As far as AJ Cunningham goes, do you think that we see another fight from this guy?
I mean, that's not 6 losses in a row, right? I mean, it's only 2. Yeah, I mean, you said his debut was just his last fight.
Right. Yeah. It's short notice as well.
Yeah, so he'll be all right. He'll get another one.
All right. I want to like the guy. You know what I mean? I
hear you.
Based on his story and all that kind of stuff. Of course, I'm rooting for him. I really need to see like a dramatic increase in skill before I'd ever, go anywhere near putting money down on him.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Yeah. So, maybe him and Bryce will cook something up.
Oh, yeah, we'll see.
All right. Moving on down the line here. Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Ryan Spann. Ryan up a weight at heavyweight. What did you think of this fight, sir?
I knew exactly what was going to happen. I've seen Ryan Spann lose on the feet to Anthony Smith 2 times. So the fact that that was the case, Waldo is not some slouch, right? Like he is not the greatest, but he's definitely on the levels of like, say, a Mick Parkin, like somebody like that. Like he'll come out here and get finishes. And if it's somebody decent or if it's Robellis, he'll just go, he can live with a decision because his striking is decent enough that he can win. Like if you check his decisions, I mean, they're unanimous. And so I don't know. Waldo he's kind of a unique figure because he kind of is a blob. Like he has a huge belly, huge torso, and his arms are kind of short. And he actually is really good at boxing. He does throw a lot of overhands. He does throw that, they call it because he used to play baseball. They're like that fastball overhand that he's got, type of deal. And he was able to catch Ryan Spann with it. It is pretty impressive. Ryan Spann looked like a fucking jackass at a couple times of this fight. I'll tell you that. But Waldo getting the finish is nowhere near surprising. I like Ryan Spann, dude. He's been finished by a fucking paper bag.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that one of the issues here is that Spann is undersized for heavyweight as far as mass goes. He's tall, but you could see the mass difference between these two guys pretty clearly. And it was kind of a situation where Spann got rocked with a few shots early in this fight and then spent the rest of the fight trying to stay just out of the way of dying. And that can only last for so long. Waldo was able to just kind of stalk him down, found the shots. This was kind of a fairly standard heavyweight performance when all of those things are considered, So I don't really I think that that's my ultimate takeaway from this fight is that I didn't take much away from it. Which, look, fine win for Waldo. I mean, this is, as it should be, all good. Aside from the fouls, there were a couple of weird little foul situations in this one. I'm like, Waldo might fight slightly dirty, maybe just a little bit, or maybe he just needs to control himself a little bit better. You're swinging a lot of body mass around and that kind of stuff. But either way, I mean, the overall point is it's like, I guess it's another nice notch for Waldo, raising his stock a little bit more. Spann, what do you do with Ryan Spann at this point? If he stays at heavyweight, I mean, I guess he's going to be circling, a couple of dudes towards the bottom there. He's 22-11 now. That loss number is half of the win number, and that's pretty much the time where things are starting to get real bad. So, these are my takeaways from a fight that I didn't take all that much away from.
I think Waldo's just one of those guys, and it is crazy for heavyweight because we don't have many of them that are really good. But he is kind of the dark horse right now. He's doing a lot of different things. I mean, that one fight with Robellis, I mean, it shows that he has the ability to just tackle people and lay on top of them. B, he has the mentality to set his pride aside. Like, I'm not gonna strike with the dude. I mean, he did for a little bit, and he took a fucking front kick to the face from Robellis, But Waldo is decently underrated for what we have in heavyweight, and he might be able to make a case here soon. I don't know, and I think Ryan Spann could go fight Janice or something. That'll be good.
All right. Well, maybe that makes sense then. It's like I really wanted to believe in Ryan Spann on this one. I think that got me a couple of times on this card is the wanting to think that there's more out of people than what might actually be there. So maybe that's the takeaway for me on this one when it comes to Ryan Spann. But Waldo, I'm going to need to see him up against like some legitimate heavyweight at some point here. I mean, he has been to an extent. He's gotten some good wins, so I'm not like trying to knock the guy on that one. Like I think it's the time is right for him to to like start ascending through the echelons here a little bit more because it is heavyweight. We know the state of that division. Like the streak that he is on now, like even if it's only a couple, it's enough. So get him up there against a higher ranked guy. Get him into a fight where he might have to actually defend a little bit more, which I think is kind of a trend that he's been riding on now. Is the fights that he's been in, he hasn't really had to be very actively defending a lot. He's been able to get his offense off pretty quickly. So that's what I'd like to see next out of him. And yeah, if Spann ends up just kind of being one of those lower level heavyweights and riding out his career that way, then maybe that's not the worst thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you ride out your career a weight up from what you did your whole career, that means you just get to be out of shape, basically. Like you get to just get paid for, like you've done all the training. Just do some cardio, get in shape kind of deal, but you don't have to be on a strict diet. If you got 3 fights left on your contract, just fight it, ride them out, go get paid.
Yeah, and continue to take heavyweight shots because that I think is going to be one of the issues here and was one of the issues in this fight. I mean,
you don't remember them, it's like, what can you say? You just wake up. It's like,
sure. Yeah, there you go. Roll out of bed the next day, huh? But yeah. I mean, if that's what it's going to be, then I guess that's what it's going to be. So, good win for Waldo. I guess that's really the end of the story there.
Yeah, I like Waldo. He's decent. I'm sad that I picked Robellis against him, but that was baby brain me. I would have seen that now. I would have seen that.
True. And, he is from
even though he hasn't wrestled fucking since, he hasn't. I probably wouldn't have picked that now because.
And there you go. I mean, we're gonna have to see what happens against somebody who actually might have to give him a problem that way. Maybe if he ends up against Jalton at some point, that'll put him to the test that way.
True.
No,
true.
And he is from the Dominican Republic, so shout out to my Dominicanos. All right, moving on. This was my biggest lock of the card, and thank God that at least one of them came through for me. This is Kevin Vallejos versus Sungwoo Choi. Vallejos getting the job done. What'd you think?
I mean, what else can you think? I mean, beautiful performance. I mean, he did exactly what he said he was going to do, and he might continue to do exactly what he said he's going to do. This dude's very scary in the division, and I'm actually going to give credit to somebody who I normally don't give credit to. Aljamain Sterling went on Twitter after this and said, I hope you guys are paying attention and noticing the little details, but Kevin Vallejos fights exactly like Ilya, and it's like spot on. When I rewatched it, I'm like, holy shit, it is. I mean, even when he knocks him and he's like going for the finishing punches, like that's literally the finishing sequence on Volk. Like it was like iconic. So Kevin Vallejos, I don't think I say that one well, but he's on to some pretty good things. And this is the what's crazy to think about in featherweight. You got Diego and Mozart, and they still haven't even had the rematch. And now we got John and Kevin. At some point, we're going to have 2 really good rematches, and we're finally going to have rematches that people want to see. Isn't that weird to think about? Like, whoa.
What a novel concept. Yeah, and he called for it too. So I mean,
exactly.
he's definitely gunning for it. He wants it. It's going to make sense somewhere down the line, it would seem, because this Kevin Vallejos, man, the boxing is so clean. And as expected, if you saw him on the Contender Series, you knew what he was capable of. And he came in here and did it exactly as he did there. Solid fundamentals in his movement and his timing, and then the power on top of it. I mean, the kid is sharp. On Choi's side, never really got a game plan in motion. Really just seemed to be reacting more than enacting when it came to offense. Slow to start against Vallejos was not the way to go in this fight because this dude was off to the races. And it is funny that you brought up the Aljamain Sterling line there, because not having heard that, I was already calling Vallejos mini Ilya. So
Yeah.
I think we're all seeing the same thing here. Times that beautiful overhand right, all that needed to be done, put him out. Obviously, need to see this guy on the ground to gauge the full skill set. But as far as the hands go, this dude is the real deal at 23 years old.
Hey, I mean, if anybody's making a case, he's making a good one. There's a lot of killers in this division. People want to talk about, divisions that are dead and are in stagnant state phases, anything like that. Like featherweight, anything but what if Diego wins the belt, which I'm not going to get into it yet, but Diego wins the belt, the division is fucking popping. Volk steps up, and now that one's dead as shit. And then this one here, this one goes crazy. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's still potential for one up to
no, it'll be good. Lightweight will be really good if Volk goes up.
Lightweight is going to be fine eventually. It's got some stuff that it needs to work out, but it's on its way to working it out. I feel like featherweight is like just getting past the point of having worked itself out, or it's going to, definitely with the fight coming up, is going to, be like the end of the workout phase of it. I think that lightweight just needs a little bit more time to get to that point with a couple of guys that need to shake out. But either way, this is a good start to it at featherweight. And Fitzgerald called Vallejos the Argentine Slugger. I don't think that Kevin Vallejos has a nickname, and I really like that one.
I heard that too, and I'm looking on ESPN, and no, his nickname is El Chino. Maybe that means it. I don't know. We don't know, but that is a good nickname. I remember him saying that, and I do like that a lot.
Yeah,
too.
I thought that was pretty cool. I also did want to at least make a mention that Vallejos was also very classy, showing respect to Sungwoo Choi, who just lost his mother recently and still showed up to fight. So best wishes to his family. And obviously he is a warrior and a soldier for still taking that fight. So, shout out to him.
Yeah, I mean, I know we don't really love to talk about some aspects of the sport like that, but like this is what separates people. Kevin Kevin had a mindset that he had to come in and, he knowing what he knew, unfortunate, for the guy, but if you want to be the best in the sport, you got to go out here and execute the exact game plan that you were before knowing that information. So, say a prayer and move on after the fight. It was very, like you said, very classy of him to make note of it. Shout out to Choi. But Kevin, this is the type of shit that you like to see. I mean, you got to be the type of person that sets everything aside. And if you want to be the best, you got to go out here and prove it. And he did it. And unfortunately, it's a mindset thing at this one. It's like he did it, and at what cost kind of deal for the other person. But you got to be the man. You got to beat the man to be the man kind of deal.
Yeah. Well, and then when it comes to Choi now, 2 knockouts in a row, on the wrong side of those. What are we thinking?
2 knockouts, but he's been here for a little bit. 11-8. Yeah, he's been here for a while now. He can go. That would be a fucked up one to cut him after. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that he should be cut. It's a hard hill to get back on top of. You're climbing out of a very low valley there. I don't know what it's going to be, but I hope that there is something for him.
Maybe it's not cutting. Maybe he takes a break, or maybe he's done. Who knows? But like 11-8, you've been in the UFC for a lot of fights now. It's not the worst thing if we see him on roster watch. Maybe it's probably a personal choice.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, maybe some time off might be the right way to go for him. Just to take a little bit of headspace time, get yourself back right. It might not have been even the best thing to have taken this fight in the first place.
True.
So either which way, though, I do wish the guy the best, because it is like, you're going up against Steve Garcia before that, right? I mean, it's like,
Oh fuck.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, this dude has been taking some very, very hard fights and paying the price for that. So take a little bit of time, get yourself right, and come back better for it, hopefully.
I hear you. Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, don't have as many nice things to say about the gentleman in this next fight. This is Dair Nurgashai versus Bredson Ribeiro. Huge weight miss for Nurgashai, coming in 4.5 pounds overweight. How the fuck did this fight even go on?
Yeah, this one's pretty crazy because bro showed up. Like that the meme, he's like, I'm gonna show up, but I'm not gonna try. Like that shit is hilarious because this dude, I don't know if you saw, he did his pre-game ritual with his coach where the coach spits the water on his face. He did that again.
Oh, they're making a thing out of that now.
That is, yeah, that is a
Because
thing.
that happened in between rounds last time. So
Yeah, so he did it at the beginning of the actually
gotcha.
that is a good point. They're trying to
Yeah, they're trying to meme over here. They're making it a thing.
good fucking job. He fucking lost the fight. Anyway, I actually was hating on Brenton Ribeiro because the last matchup that I watched him in was very, very boring, and he was not, I guess, not able to be as aggressive as he would like to be. Because this one, he showed some good aggression here, and I really liked it. On the feet, it was decent, and then gets it to the ground. I loved that. It might have been Brendan Fitzgerald, but he was explaining that Dair Nurgashai started out as a wrestler. Buddy, the grappling didn't look there for me. If you got subbed at by something that everybody on Twitter and they're like talking about Kimura in 2025, what is going on? Kimura in 2025, like two Kimuras. If you getting subbed to a submission that which is basic knowledge submission, like everybody knows what the Kimura is, like when anyway. If you getting subbed to that and everybody's saying that doesn't even happen anymore, like something, you fucked up somewhere.
This was another Danny Barlow situation where, God, I wish I had listened back to our episode where we talked about his fight on the Contender Series, because if I had even the slightest awareness that this was the dude who's got the tick that is the worst tick in all of MMA, where he is constantly wiping away his eyes, closing his eyes to do so. He goes across his face to wipe his eye. It completely, I mean, and it's I was saying, like, on the watch along, I was like, he does it every 5 seconds, like, just say like hyper, like, oh, every 5 seconds, like that's a lot. And Vitz was like, no, it's like multiple times within the span of a couple of seconds, like 2 or 3 times per every 3 seconds or so. I mean, like, so he's constantly boom, back to his face, back to his face. If I had remembered that, this prediction would have been entirely different. And yeah, I mean, coming to, kind of eating the dessert first here when it comes to the finish of this thing, the lack of awareness when it came to the finishing sequence with the Kimura that you're talking about, like, it was really, really bad. It was like, because it was so, from a mile away, you could see that it was coming. Ribeiro sets up the Kimura, has the arm fully extended backwards, and that's like the telltale sign that if you continue down this path, the Kimura is going to happen. That's why it's so rare in 2025, because once the arm is back there, everybody generally has the awareness to adjust to what they're feeling because it's an odd position for your arm to be in. It's not natural for it to be pulled in that direction and pushed backwards like that. So it's like, it sends the message to your brain pretty quickly. Oh, this is starting a sequence that could be deadly. No awareness there. Ribeiro sets that thing up. Nurgashai rolls right into the one position to advance it to the point of it being a full-on locked submission. Shout out to Brenton Ribeiro for staying the course with that, because he could have let that go and the roll through could have been successful for Nurgashai, but it wasn't. Like, it was more on Nurgashai's fault than it was on him for just doing the thing that you should do.
True. Yeah, this one was, I remember watching it in live time, and I didn't catch Brendan Fitzgerald saying at the beginning, like, he's got an eye tick, guys. It's not a problem. He doesn't need to see a doctor. Like, it's just what he does, blah, 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 blah. But as I was watching it in live time, I'm sitting here and I do the same thing that I did in the Contender. It's like, yo, this dude's got some fucking problem. Like, he's got like an eye problem or something. Like, he can't like open his eye. Like, he's manually blinking or something in his right eye. Like, I don't know what's going on. but
Manually blinking.
dude,
Let's go.
I'm serious. Like that's exactly what it looked like. It was every moment wiping the sweat or doing something. But like I was just really hoping. It's just like Brenton, just bro, punch him in his right eye. Like he's gonna keep touching it. Like there's gonna be 2 moments where he touches his eyes, and then he's gonna keep doing it. Like dude, him during him during COVID. Holy shit, dude, hands out your eyes,
Yeah,
dude.
for
Like
real, right?
oh
But
my
yeah,
goodness.
no, it's funny that you mentioned Fitzgerald saying that too, because Fitzgerald even was like, he said, "Yeah, no, guys, you see him doing the eye thing. It's just a tick. He doesn't have any problems, but it's a tick that he has, and somehow he's able to figure out a way to
Yeah,
fight with it." And it was like, well, obviously not. Yeah, no, Nurgashai looked like every bit of the new meta when it comes to weight misses, which I've been trying to push forward here as a new meta because it's just something that I've been noticing more and more, because the old meta was always, if the dude misses weight, especially by that much weight, then it's almost a lock that he's going to win the fight. As you might recall, that is why Wonder Boy turned down fights when his opponents missed weight. But the new meta seems to be that these guys come in missing weight, looking sluggish and lumbering in round 1. This is what you get. So, yeah, Nurgashai not winning any points with anybody based on this fight. And God, do I wish that I had gone back and re-listened to our podcast.
I think this has been, and I mean, I've only been here a few years, but the most amount of undefeated fighters have lost in 2025 so far than, up until this point in any other years. Like this has been a lot of undefeated fighters, and maybe we just have a lot of great fighters that were taken up too early. Maybe they're not ready. Maybe that's the case. But a lot of these have been pretty good matchups. Not this one, but
yeah, good matchup for Ribeiro, because like you said, I was agreeing. I mean, like, they were talking about how wild he generally is, and like
I was like, I must be fucking blind then. That when they were talking about that, holy shit, I'm like, where the fuck is that been?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I mean, like, this was a fine measured performance. He didn't come out here like raging or anything. He really just did exactly what he needed to do. Uh Followed the course of the fight. I mean, like, it's really like, sometimes it's as textbook and elementary as that. It's you are in the sequences that you're setting up, go with them and get the outcome that you want. I mean, that's really what he did. Like, you find the openings, and especially if your opponent is going to give them to you, walk through the door.
True.
All right. That's all I got on Nurgashai. Honestly, I really I don't know if I want to see that dude again, but let's talk to the fight that breaks my heart the most. Chase is already bursting at the seams here. This is Cody Gibson versus Damon Blackshear. What you got for me, Chase?
It shouldn't even break your heart. Honestly, it shouldn't. This was, for the first moments, this was a good fight from Cody. Cody
Sure.
came out and was doing exactly what he needed to do. Put him on the back foot, don't let him get into a rhythm, and was actually, ripping the body really nice. Damon was actually backing up. There was some moments where it looked like he was feeling a little bit, and Cody was relentless going for him. And unfortunately, and Cody's a pretty good wrestler, BJJ guy, in my opinion. Like he can wrestle his ass off, and when it comes to the ground, like he can scramble. I was really thinking that the levels that people explained Damon Blackshear having in jiu-jitsu, I did not think it was going to be as much of a gap. Damon Blackshear, just like somebody earlier in the card that we talked about, I forget his name, but he has a wicked fucking side control. Holy shit. He held Cody there for so long. He even got the crucifix at the end of round 1. I'll tell you the moment that I knew it was over. This was unfortunate. At the end of round 1, he got a cheeky little elbow in, and it cut Cody right across the eye.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't think it was going to get stopped. It was a pretty close cut to the eye, but I had no doubt that it was going to continue. But seeing that happened, just that little glimpse of success, like there it goes, like that's going to be the key to victory right there. It's going to be that crucifix, and shout out to Cody, man. I'm telling you, he was doing really fucking good on the feet. I don't think him going for the wrestling is what he should have done. And I've actually explained this before. He's kind of the opposite of what you would expect as like when people get gassed, instead of wrestling, they go to striking. When Cody gets gassed, instead of striking, he goes to the wrestling. That's just what he does. So when he started to get tired, he's shooting, but he's still successful in it. He was just getting himself in a position that he wasn't able to to be the most successful in. And damn it, he was getting out of a lot of the chokes. And maybe that's what gave him a lot of success going into the second round with the wrestling. It's like, oh, I got out of two really good fucking, sub attempts from him. No way he's gonna get me in the second round. I'll get out of it. And that was a wicked fuck. He caught him in the guillotine, didn't work. He switched it to they called it the Bravo choke, but it was like an anaconda choke, just in a north-south position. And I thought that was locked. Like I thought that was in. And then the bells, they did the clapper, and Damon let it go. And I was like, oh, he fucked up. And then he tried to get it back, kind of deal, but then the time was out. So I think he thought the round ended, because it did not look like he meant like he won. Like if he would have just sat there till the end of the bell if it was there. Like I don't think he would have just like let it go and then tried to go. But maybe he tried to readjust. Anyway, second round though. Yeah, man, it was just unfortunate. We got another Kimura finish. This one was a little more tricky, and I think this does show the levels to Damon's, BJJ. I mean, this one wasn't just the straight up arm behind your back pull. Like this one you had to work for. He got him such in an isolated position. He got his arm trapped in the legs, got him in the crucifix. And first off, actually, shout out to Damon where he's doing this move, right? He's inside control, got his leg trapped, and he's hitting his elbows with the thighs, and then he's doing this one too to the head. Very impressive. It was good moves. And then he isolated the wrist. Cody tried to get a good scramble. I actually, upon rewatch, I don't think he did anything wrong in the scrambles. There just wasn't enough gas. And the top control was just too good from Damon. And Cody, he was almost out. He was doing just enough the right moves that he was almost out, and then Damon would just get him right back down. Like it was just that make or miss moment, and maybe that's the edge in youth, I guess. I don't know, but he was just right there on the edge of escaping it and getting up, and then he got taken right back down, and then we got more elbows, and then more isolation of the limbs, and then he gets the Kimura, and he tried. I mean, god damn, I didn't think he was going, but it ended. So it was a good performance. I don't think you should be that fucking upset, because like, dude, Cody was out there trying to win me some fucking money. Like I tell you that, like he was out there, he was gonna, dude, that first round finish would have been so fucking sweet. I tell you. So shout out Cody. That's my boy.
Yeah. I mean, you're taking a lot of the words out of my mouth on this one, but run it down real quick. From my perspective, strong start for Cody. Indeed, he was going out there to win this fight for sure. Got the hands going early, nice body shots as well. I agree with you 10,000%. I wish he had just stuck with that when he had Blackshear covering up on the cage. Blackshear admittedly was a slow start on that one. He joked about it, saying, "Oh, I ate too much" or whatever. He'd said in his post fight or whatever. But like, you could tell that like Cody was like locked in early, and Blackshear was kind of playing a little bit of catch up there, and he was feeling those body shots. I mean, that like you could see him wince off of one of them. So it was a strong start on that side. Didn't like that Cody ended on the bottom after all of it. When it went to the ground in that first round, and of course the cut you were talking about happened, but still good first round for him. When Cody went to back to the takedown in round 2, that was when I started to get worried. And it's exactly what I had mentioned on the previous episode, where I was saying, his gas tank is, I feel like his greatest weakness, his Achilles heel, is that cardio. And unfortunately, he got Blackshear to that seated position. And I think that because you were talking about how it was like that the small movements really were like the defining portion of what ended up being the finishing.
You're about
sequence.
to talk about that flip that he did. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was saying. Like I talk about it a lot. I usually say it's corralling the legs. Some people calling it stitching the legs, basically where like you get both legs trapped under the body. The thing they always say, Khabib popularized that. He didn't do that, and that was, it's those small little details, which was like exactly what allowed Blackshear to get the reversal. And I mean, like that, it's unfortunate, but that also on the other side of it shows just how good Blackshear is, because it really was not. I mean, like I cannot tell you how many other fighters would not have had the wherewithal to get that motion enacted the way that Blackshear did. Like Cody could have easily swung on over for a different fighter. It would have been like, oh, go like some dude who's going to flail his legs a little bit more or try to go to the other side, towards the cage or whatever. Like there's a bunch of different ways that could have gone and that Cody could have reacted to, but Blackshear did the exact right thing. And, you got to give the guy credit for that. He's obviously very skilled. When it was on the ground towards the later parts of the fight, you could see that Cody was starting to breathe heavy down there. As I said, the Achilles heel being the cardio, it shows, and I don't really know what you can do about it at this point. But Blackshear really is just that dude when it came to the all of the things that we just laid out. So I mean, Cody is my boy. Obviously, like I wanted him to win this fight very much. I was rooting for him. I was all in on him as well. But it just is what it is at the end of the day when it comes to the awareness that Blackshear showed.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. I mean, he's just one of these guys. Like maybe the record is just not showing the entire story because this is somebody that you beat somebody who I think is a very high caliber, very professional, whatever you want to say, type of fighter. So you got to be somewhere on the list of decent. But I just don't know, is the record truthful or are you going to come out here and fluke your next one? I don't know. Yeah, I think, you want to talk about the first round and he was talking about he was a slow starter. I don't know. Maybe there's maybe the motivation thing. Like if he comes out and he looks a little less motivated and he doesn't win, okay, maybe there's a sign there. But as of right now, Blackshear, I will believe that you are somewhat decent and I will stop questioning you, even though I do talk about that one twister that you got. Like, oh my God, big deal, brother. Like, I'll stop. That's a good twister. Good job.
One of three. he's in the a club of three with the twister. But I mean, with Blackshear, I do think that he is better than the record will lead one to believe as well. Also, I mean, at least one of those losses was because he took a fight on, like, he fought back to back. He fought basically 1 week and then the immediate next week, which I think was a very unwise decision. And that was, I think that was the Montel Jackson fight, I want to say.
Yeah, he got knocked out by him.
So I mean, stuff like that, I think kind of it paints a different picture than what we see now. And maybe against other strikers, that it's going to be a situation like that where he can get caught and the acumen on the ground is not going to matter as much. So there's potential for that to be the case. But I kind of knew that Cody, I think that he's one of the best wrestlers like in the game. And he is going to rely on that. And I was, that's why it was so surprising to me when he had such success with his hands and didn't stick with that. I was, I just thought that some of the navigational elements were a little bit off on this one. Like you had to know that Blackshear was hurting off of some of those early shots. Like you could have just kept it there. I mean, like there was like, he initiated the takedown in the first, like that was off of the sequence where he had him hurt. Like you could have just kept going. So, other fighters will have different levels of success with their hands if they keep them or keep the pressure on, if they keep the hands going and whatnot. Take it to the ground, you're going to have more of a problem. I think that this is a good fight for people to watch when it comes to doing your research on Blackshear. It's like that, if you're going to fight him, watch this fight. This is the fight that'll show you what the actual blueprint should be.
Yeah, the next person, all we got to do that fights Blackshear, the next person that fights him, if it's a striker who shoots after they get him hurt, like we've seen Brenton Allen type dudes do, then it's questionable. Blackshear might get another sub. But if it's somebody who will actually stand and not shoot, like if wrestling's not in their game, if they just want to stand and bang, I mean, listen, I'm trying to think of a bantamweight. No, I was thinking of a featherweight, I guess. But either way, Damon Blackshear, I don't know who you could fight next, but I hope it's a striker because you've already got pieced up by a striker. I know it was short notice, but like you're gonna have to get through one eventually, and that was probably the worst of the bunch that you're gonna go up against. Now that you're gonna win, I mean, we got to see a better dude against you. It's probably gonna be another dude who can knock dudes out. So
right. Yeah, exactly. So, shout out to Damon Blackshear for getting a good win. And also, we said 2 back-to-back women's finishes and 2 back-to-back Kimuras. So how about that? You know, kind of a interesting dynamic on this card for that reason. And as always, you know, Cody, still my boy. So
Hell yeah.
yeah. All right. Let's move on down here. We got Alexander Hernandez versus Kurt Hollabaugh. This was an interesting fight. I think this was one of the fights that was a little bit of a head scratcher as far as how the conclusion went. What'd you think?
I think Kurt Hollabaugh looks like Forrest Griffin.
I could see that.
Yeah, it was definitely a big glaring issue the entire fight. Anyway, Alexander Hernandez, I was like, I'm so right about this dude being extremely mediocre. Like he's not very good. He's not like for somebody who's kind of towards the top of cards. I've seen you perform at a very mid level. Like for the fact that Kurt Hollabaugh arguably won this fight. And a 30-27, I see it now.
Fucking
Holy shit.
wild. Absolutely wild.
That's that Brian Miner dude. He's on the troll list. He's on the troll tab. Don't worry. This dude here. The 30-27 is ridiculous because Kurt Hollabaugh beat the hell out of Alexander Hernandez for the first round and probably the first 2.5 minutes of round 2-ish. I don't care what this dude got with one takedown at the end of the first and 2 in the second or whatever it was. Like he didn't do shit with them. Like there was nothing being done with the ground game. And Kurt, hey, you can't get up from the ground to save your fucking life. You can't even defend a double leg to save your life. But I do think you won this fight. And I don't think you would be better going forward. Like I don't think you're going to be better going forward against anybody, but like that doesn't matter. You definitely beat Alexander Hernandez, who is gonna get mopped very soon. Like I hope a dude. I want to see him try to call out some good competition that actually mops him like really bad.
Well, I mean, Hernandez has had an interesting path in general because he came out really hot shotty against Cerrone, and that was the first like big check of his career there. You know, that was supposed to be his big like ascension into, you know, stardom, and he was super cocky, very arrogant, talking all this shit, got checked really hard then. And then since that fight has basically just been all over the place. I mean, you know, like you're definitely right that like he's I would say that he's like technically sufficient. You know what I mean? Like he's got the movements down. He's got the general.
He looks good when he does it.
Yeah. Right. I mean, like he like from a distance, it playing the part makes sense. You know, right. You know, you squint and it all falls into place. But I mean, this was I think a very like the matchmaking was really good in this fight for that exact reason. Kurt Hollabaugh is a dude who's been around for a million years. I mean, this dude, I don't know if I mentioned it in the last one, but this dude has been fighting since Strikeforce. This guy has been around for fucking ever. So this, I mean, like he is.
So it is Forrest Griffin.
Okay. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you're in line. I think the joke that I made on back when I was reviewing The Ultimate Fighter, you know, it was the season that he was on as well. I think that I said that he's been in the organization twice with 3 different noses. So
wait a minute, he was also on The Ultimate Fighter. Something hinky's going on, and he's got gray hair. Dude, this is Forrest Griffin, dude.
Yeah. You know, have you ever seen him in the same place at the same time?
I'm telling you, dude, something's up. Sorry, but yeah, he's had 3 different noses.
I mean, well, yeah, you look through his pictures over the years. Yeah, he's had his face rearranged a couple of times. So,
nice.
but I mean, but he's a dog, though. You know what I mean? Like he's one of those dudes. And I had to say, like that, like Kurt's speed for his age is very impressive. I mean, like he came out in round 2 after a whole. I mean, a pretty even round 1, looking really fresh. So, I mean, like he's definitely got an impressive tank and a good base of movement for a dude that's been doing it as long as he is. So I got to give him a lot of credit there. The first round was close. The striking was pretty even. Yeah, you thought. I mean, I thought it was.
Hell no. If the first round was close, you're giving Alexander Hernandez 30-27.
No. Hernandez.
If the first round was close, then you were saying basically Alexander Hernandez was winning every other round because the first round was very decisive for Kurt.
All right. I mean, then fair enough. I still thought that Kurt took the round, but I thought it was definitely the closest of the rounds in my opinion. Aside, well, I guess for the third, you know, with Hernandez just kind of laying on him a good amount, but I thought the first round was decently close. I'll caveat that. I thought it was a little bit hard to call that round, but it was, I I edged it to Kurt. He also had that guillotine until the second or two before the horn, so that was a good notch for him as well. But Kurt was piecing him up in the second round. And I mean, the tackle that Hernandez got was well timed, pushed the tides a little bit towards his direction at the end of the round, but Kurt defended it well and took that round. So yeah, I'd say 1 and 2 were both for Kurt. Then the third round, he got through the takedown early, Hernandez did, and kept it for a long time. So Kurt got back to his feet and then got taken down again, which is not a good look. So he takes that round. But yeah, first 2 rounds for Kurt. This is definitely a petty theft, if not an all-out robbery. I think that he did a lot better than the judges thought.
I thought first round, 100%, no way you could give
I guess
it
I'll have to go back and watch it a third time then, because I mean, it seemed close to me. I thought Hernandez was doing like his best work in that round.
I thought the second round was the close one. Second round was close because Kurt came out and won the first half of it, and then Alexander just gets a takedown and lays on top of him.
But that's why it wasn't close to me. You know what I'm saying? Like since the takedown didn't do anything, so like and that's one of those things. It's like, how much do you weigh the takedown versus the striking and stuff? But the striking was so definitively Kurt that like a takedown to me should not have negated any of that, and it wasn't for that long. I mean, I think he maybe had it for like a minute or so. I mean, which is that's a long enough time in a 5-minute round, but still, I mean, like all of that leading up to it, like. I thought it was a decisive round for Kurt.
I thought, I didn't think it was decisive. I thought it was okay. One or two judges is going to give him that round. Going into the third, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, he won it on at least 2 scorecards, hopefully. In the third round, no, he didn't win the third round, unfortunately. Kurt, damn, can he not defend a fucking takedown?
Yeah, that is unfortunate. Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that. And at this stage of the game, it's like you said, like, what are you really going to do? You're going to start becoming, the old dog's new tricks at this point. I mean, hard to say.
It's like you're watching it and it's like, all right, takedown coming. No. Like, and it's like all of your hope just goes. It's because like, okay, well, it's like you might as well just go take a piss now because the last of the fucking round is going to be Alexander Hernandez just fucking crotch sniffing, So
yeah, and that was absolutely the feeling with the second takedown in the third round. Good Lord, it's
like,
bro,
oh my God,
just got back.
He finally did all that work, got back to his feet, and it's like, okay, Curry, you can fucking win on the feet. Let's go. And then it's like, oh my fucking God. Like, oh. Anyway, yeah. It's crazy.
But I mean, this at the very least should have been a split decision, for fuck's sake. For one judge to go 30-27 is absolutely crazy. And yeah, I thought that it was 2-1 to Kurt.
Yeah, Brian Miner, you watch yourself. I'll be keeping track of when you show up, buddy.
And I think that I saw you've got a little list going now of judges. Is that correct?
Yes, we got a list of the disabled ones and the troll ones.
All right. Well, good.
And sabotage is another category on there. If you straight up just sabotage the shit, like what's his name for Ryan back in Abu Dhabi, Mr. Muhammad, Mr. Muhammad. Listen.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about there. Yeah, well, so did you ever find out if you're able to find out the judges ahead of time, or is that still up in the air?
I don't think so. It's still up in the air. We'll keep track of it. We'll look into it.
Because you might have an inside track with Mr. Parton over here if he's able to get the information together. So keep an eye out.
Split Decision King will be back once I tell you. Once I know who's judging beforehand, I'll tell you who's winning that shit.
There you go. All right, fair enough. So I mean, Hernandez, congratulations, I guess. Not deserved, but whatever.
True.
All right, co-main event of this thing was Chidi and Njokuani versus Ezeliu Zaleski dos Santos. Chidi missed weight by 1.5 pounds. Apparently, he says that he wanted to cut that extra 1.5 pounds. The doctor said that he could not do it. I don't know why the doctor would not allow him to cut that 1.5 pounds when Musasa was able to cut the 0.5 pound.
His blood pressure was too high. He said it.
Oh, did he say it? Oh, okay. I didn't hear that. Okay.
So, actually, I was going to actually say, because I think it's actually an interesting. He said that he was trying to cut the extra weight. They wouldn't let him because his blood pressure was too high, and that he was going to shave his head. And I was like, well, why didn't you? But then I was thinking like, oh, well, they just wouldn't let him weigh back in after the doctor told him like no more cutting weight. Yeah. It's like, okay, boom, done. You're not weighing it anyway. So I was like, okay, now I get why you didn't shave your head, because like there was no fucking point anyways.
And I mean, and if it was still at 1.5 pounds, I mean, I don't think that you're gonna have 1.5 pounds of hair, even if it is thick. So, but yeah. So whatever. Honestly, I mean, like Chidi Njokuani is a pro. I mean, like he's not one of these dudes that's going to be out here pulling a Kelvin Gastelum, missing weight all the time. I would
His
say.
voice is so bad. Oh, it
Oh, you're
sounds like
kidding?
he's been
I love that.
smoking cigarettes for like so long.
I think he should be a voice actor after he's done fighting. I think that he's got a career
That's
in voice
fucking
acting with that thing.
Scar or fucking
Yeah,
Darth Vader. Yeah,
he could
like
be a villain. You know, he's got that. Yeah, I think his voice is cool, man. He should be a podcaster. Cheated, just come join the show.
yeah, true. But no, okay, so let me get into it. I will actually say this is another one where my expectations were subverted. And I think for good. I wasn't mad at this because I wasn't necessarily against either. Like Cheaty in your last matchup, your opponent that you had was so fucking bad. And like I just figured you were just styling out on him because that's just what you do against bad opponents, right? But I I underestimated just how good you could look against somebody who I figured was decent comp. I've seen him do some pretty decent stuff. He's beat Sean Strickland. Hey, he can live off that win forever, I guess. But Cheaty, he's just fucking nasty, dude. Like he gets in there, and a lot of the time we overestimate tall fighters. We're like, man, okay, he's tall, he's got it. It's in the bag, like he's taller than us, and then they come out sucking. They don't know how to do anything with their length. Roosevelt Roberts. So Cheaty
R.I.P.
is one of these dudes who gets the fight close, rips elbows, rips knees. You could see the knee that landed in the ending sequence, but and Zaleski dos Santos knew that. Like in tape, he knew because anytime the clinch came and he grabbed the back of that, he's getting away. He's pushing him off. That clinch, he does not want anything to do with it. I wish I would have noticed just how big of a difference it was in the height and because Zaleski is pretty crazy short compared to Cheaty, and I don't think it's like necessarily the height that matters, but like Cheaty was just massive, and that's just what he is for this weight class, and with his style, it's going to be a very crazy matchup for anybody that's coming near. But Zaleski just has a style, but it was just so hard for him to get on the inside and get anything to happen. He just did not have any success. Like I think he rocked him at one point in the first round. He kind of chicken danced a little bit for Cheaty, but Zaleski didn't press onto it, let him recover, and then it was that was his one moment to do something, and it was just not enough. Cheaty has this, and you see with Brian Battle too, they have these very short, choppy steps that they just like walk you down with, and they're just able to just shoot teeps right off of them, shoot high kicks, and their legs are always going, they're always moving their feet up and down, and just short little, and it's impressive. I'm sure that they're doing thousands of steps during these things, but like they're killing it.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was going to say when it came to what Cheaty was doing in there. I mean, like the kicks were the story of the fight for him, really. I mean, able to control the range exactly as he wanted for most of this fight. I mean, if he wanted to keep distance, he would do it. If he wanted to get inside, he could do it. I mean, like, really, he was reacting to everything that was coming back at him, which was not a lot to deal with because he was able to control all of what was going on as this thing progressed. So I mean, the Cheaty at welterweight is just a problem, man. It's like you said, he's massive, he's super tall. Hopefully the weight is not going to be an issue going forward. If he's comfortable making that weight all the time, then yeah, I mean, like he's got all of the natural abilities just in his genetics. I mean, like he's really like because he was already good at middleweight. You know what I mean? Like this dude is like he's a skilled fighter to begin with. So going down, really the advantage is this is like the best example or one of, the best examples of a guy making that choice to change weights and it being the exact right one. Because, like able to control distance however he wants with those ridiculously long legs that he has. And then when he does get inside finally, like, when he decides that like it's time to get close, the clinch, I mean, his Muay Thai was really, really nice. Went Thai clinch to knee to elbows for the TKO in the finishing sequence. That was beautiful work.
Yeah, this one was really good. Cheaty, I'm really excited to see what's next for you, but Zaleski, man, damn, I was really thinking you'd get this one done.
Same.
It was just unfortunate, not gonna lie. So Cheaty, you do have a lot of losses, but if you keep fighting like this, I have no reason to root against you. You've solidified what I was questioning. I wasn't completely on board with the thought that you were a little something compared to your opponent, but you've proven everything here. This was good.
Yeah, the only other note was that there were a couple of fouls in this fight. Tighten that up, really. I mean, there was the one was when they both swang the kick at the same time, so it's like, what are you really going to do about that? But other stuff when it came to like the little eye poke or whatever, like just tighten up a little bit because you don't want to have fouls marring otherwise dominant performances, which is what this ended up being. So, yeah, I mean, that's just really all that there is to it. Keep doing what you're doing at welterweight, and we're gonna have to see how he stacks up against some of the ranked guys, because I would say that he's going to be knocking on the door of that pretty soon. I mean, he's not ranked at welterweight yet, right? I don't think that he is, but yeah, I mean, he's going to be getting ranked competition next, I would think. I mean, that's what, 3, I think they said, at welterweight at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. So. Yeah, so 3 wins at welterweight for Chidi. Ranked competition.
Chitty bang bang.
Yeah, Chidi bang bang. Competition right around the corner with the numbers. So we'll see who ends up being the person that he gets with that, and if he can keep it going. I mean, yeah, I think that Chidi is definitely a problem at welterweight.
100%. This was a good co-main event.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, better than the main event to me. I see, you made the face earlier. You're making the face again. We're talking about Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze here. The second time these gentlemen have been fighting one another. Okay, I'll explain myself just a little bit as to why I was not super happy with this fight. I think that the issue that I had was that both of these guys are rock'em sock'em robot type guys that are really just trying to wing heavy shots. We talk about big meaty hook merchants. These are 2 of them. And I think that if one of them had just been a little bit more of like an actual technical boxer in this fight, then this could have, I mean, maybe not finished, because both these guys are super tough, and that is the one positive note that you can take away from Marvin Vettori in this fight. But like, I just think that it could have been a more dominant performance, probably for Dolidze, based on what we saw, if he had strung together some combos, if he had mixed in a couple of, I mean, he did have the elbows. I'll give him that. He had the spinning elbows. Those were cool. When he started to mix it up, it got a little bit better towards the end. But if he had been doing it consistently throughout this fight, it could have been a dominant performance, instead of me continuing to think I don't see Roman Dolidze as a contender.
I think, well, okay, so for context, this is the first live matchup that I think this is the first time I've ever watched Vettori fight. I'm not gonna lie, I've never watched I've never watched
You didn't
him
see
and
him versus Cannonier?
No, hell no. I've seen clips of it, but like never watched the whole thing.
And you missed a monumental ass whooping in that fight, but go ahead.
Well, either way, so this one, it's like when I watch it, it's like, so I'm getting told like, this is the granite chin meme, like this is him himself, like this is in the flash. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I don't think Roman's gonna be the dude to test it, but like, okay, sure. And it was very impressive to watch Marvin Vettori just decide not to block for 5 rounds. He did want people to punch him in the face, and I do give him credit, because man, does he look like he loves to fight. Him and Roman actually did come out here and fight for 5 rounds. You actually have the same thoughts process as Elite. Elite came into the call. Me and Henry, actually, shout out to Henry, he was in the call. We were watching this together, and we're actually having a good time. Like, man, these dudes are really throwing down. Like, they are not holding back. Like, they are literally just like leaving the chins out, hands down, hooks flying. Why is that so unfair, like, to the audience? Like, that is a fun fucking experience. And like I'm thinking like, okay, nobody's gonna fucking go down. Like, neither of these dudes are gonna do, because Marvin is just not able to throw a competent strike that gets Roman like caught. Vettori also is just gonna not go down to the millions of strikes that he gets landed on his face. So it was a very interesting fight just to watch happen, because like I felt like I knew everything that was going to happen, and I just got to continue to watch the madness. Like, it really was a funny fucking fight, because I don't know if you've seen the meme. There's a Lego Marvel Avengers meme where it's the Hulk and the Thing, and they're like punching each other. That is what this was. Like, this was just 2 dudes just slugging it out in a bar. Like, that was, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll give you that aspect of it. You say that Vettori went out there and didn't block for 5 rounds. Well, he also didn't throw for 2.5, I would say, and that was what was bothering me, really. I think I'm not saying that this was like a terrible fight. This was not a bad fight. It was a a frustrating fight for me to watch as a person who thought that this was going to be the return of Marvin Vettori, which I did think it was hilarious. I don't think I'd ever seen them put up a graphic on the screen that said Marvin Vettori has never finished a fight after the first round. I was like, that's not
that was crazy. I saw that too. I'm like, wait a minute, you're telling me he ain't never done nothing outside the first round, basically? Like, Jesus.
That was a wild troll of a graphic for the team to throw up. But the point of why I'm saying all of that is that, you know, Marvin Vettori, as I had mentioned, got pieced to hell by Jared Cannonier. It was just such a solid ass beating that he took in that fight. I would recommend going back and watching that fight if you haven't seen it, because it really, you thought that this fight was entertaining. I mean, I've never seen a punching bag like Marvin Vettori in that fight. But that happens. He takes a lot of time off from the sport. I thought that this was going to be the readjustment, like, hey, I'm back. Going up against a guy that he already beat, even if it was a very close fight, this had been the time to come back and like be the 2.0 version of yourself. And he comes out here, and through the third, like halfway through the third, I want to say, I mean, maybe more the fourth and the fifth, but at least in those last two, it's inactivity. He's giving all of the real estate to Roman. I mean, like, he had so much room to work. That's why do you think that spinning elbows are landing for him? It's because by the time he was already tired, and he's not throwing himself. And if he is throwing, it's just these single power shots that aren't landing. It's a frustrating thing to watch as a person who thought that he was going to do something different or better.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, that Vettori's younger and Roman's like fucking 36 or something like that. Like, there's not too much more that he doesn't have much more time. But his game plan and a lot of his fights, I mean, it does differ. And I think that does show what his skill set can do. Like, he has a lot of different opponents that he's done a lot of different things again. I keep harping on it. Like, this dude is truly a mixed martial artist at this point. Like, I thought that the wrestling was going to come into play here because he can wrestle his fucking ass off, but the fact he stood and struck with Marvin Vettori for 5 rounds made it a unanimous decision. Like, Roman is pretty good, but it's hard for me to say that more is to come because he's old, guys. Like, this is an old fighter at this point.
Yeah, well, and he said it himself in the promo packages that this probably is his last shot at making a run for it. So he seems to want it. You know, he's talking about shooting himself up there and trying to make it happen. I'm very skeptical still, but it's not impossible, I guess. I mean, crazier things have happened. I did want to say too that, like, in the third round, Marvin did have Dolidze kind of hurt for a second there. He was having to go into recovery mode, but Dolidze did recover pretty quickly. So for all of the stuff I'm saying about his inactivity, there was at least a moment of success there. But like, that's where you really need to turn up the volume and capitalize on it, dig deep and throw all that you have at it, start putting combos together, which, like, again, the awareness, it's like you have to be aware of that and capitalize on that when you have it. He didn't do that. So, I mean, it was just like a mirror match of single strikes until Dolidze started to put together some combos, and then the spinning elbows and that kind of stuff as well.
All right, 3 last things I have. Did
Sure.
you first notice that Marvin Vettori, what I believe was happening was he wanted to fight without his cup. I think that is what it was. I don't think he wanted to fight with the jockstrap, because the way that I was reading the situation, he's like, yeah, I'm good. No, like, I'm good. And like, the lady's like listening, she's like, no, you gotta get the cup. Like, and then his coach runs back and gets it. And then funny enough, he walks to the sideline and just drops his shorts, moons the entire fucking apex. And I would assume he had to put a whole jockstrap on, because like, why else would you have to do the whole fucking drop your short? Like,
they brought the curtain out for him, didn't they?
No, he just went behind the little, like, like the little railing curtain that they walk.
Oh,
like, yeah.
He just walked, wow. Yeah, I thought they brought the curtain out for him. Okay, well, yeah, no, that was a funny thing. Yes, you are correct that he went out there without the cup. And yeah, you're right though. It is true. Now thinking back on the watch long, I guess I didn't put 2 and 2 together because I wasn't like actively watching the screen at the time when I did the rewatch when that part was coming up. But yeah, thinking back on the watch along, he was having a whole conversation about it. It wasn't like, oh, yo, I forgot I gotta go.
He walked out without it. Like,
yeah. Marvin is not the brightest guy on the planet, just as a thing. And I'm not really trying to roast him too hard, but it's just kind of a, water is wet, sky is blue kind of situation. He's sort of known as being a little bit of a meathead. You'd think that knowing that you have to fight with crotch protection is something that all fighters would know, but maybe he just didn't know.
Here's my other hypothesis, and I don't know because I didn't watch it closely. Maybe he did try to fight with his shorts on backwards, and there's no cup spot in the back of the shorts.
That was a one-time thing for a photo shoot.
Now he recreated the photo, by the way. He did the
did
photo
he?
again.
Oh,
I
okay.
sent the updated one. Yeah, he did the photo again. So I'm wondering,
Nice.
maybe he did try to come out with them on backwards, and there's obviously no cup spot in the back. So they were like, no, you got to turn your shorts around and get your fucking cup, goofball. Okay, anyway.
More questions than answers, but all right. What else
Second
you got?
thing.
Yeah.
Is Marvin Vettori proving that Italy has elite chins? Like, he's the only one right now. So, I mean, stands to say 1 of 1. He's 100% on elite chin. And that's like elite of the elite. So coming short is like still pretty fucking good. And I'm pretty sure he's the only Italian we got right now.
He very well might be the only Italian, definitely the only one I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, Italy, an underrepresented country in the sport for sure.
And that's actually a pretty big country compared to a lot. Isn't that kind of crazy to think about?
Not only big, but also developed. I mean, there's really no glaring reason that they shouldn't have more representation.
True. Okay. Last one. What did you think of Roman Dolidze's?
Oh, his Craven the Hunter? I loved it.
Yeah, it is Craven the Hunter. Thank you for noticing that. That is dope. Yeah, I liked it too.
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it a lot, actually. I thought it was a good look. I was like, it's interesting when it comes to things like that, because it's like, you feel like there can't be that many like unique things to wear in the limited amount of stuff you can wear. But time and time again, these fighters are surprising us. And I thought, yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was a good look.
Like another one that was, I'm not saying this was on the same level, but you talk about how many unique things can you do. It's like when Sugar Sean came out with the Thriller jacket. It wasn't when he was wearing it, but when Marab had it on. It's like you can't recreate a lot of these things. But like Marab's standing there.
But that's outside of the of active competition. Though. That's a little different. I'm talking about in cage, because it's like, you've got the Popkas for the a lot of the Russian guys and the Georgians and stuff, and then you got like the cool hats for like Miktabek Orlabai, you know what I mean? Like guys like that have
little hats,
Yeah, like, so there's a couple of different ones. Actually, I think even
the nerds, they got the glasses.
Of course, there you go. Yeah, and homie who just fought Manel Capa, Su Almabayev, had his own little hat, going there for his walkout. So it's like, it's new and unique things that are always kind of entertaining. And I definitely like the what do you even call that? I don't even know, like a shawl. It's like, it's kind of a shoulder warmer kind of thing, whatever. It's sort of draped over his back and over his shoulders. But yeah, I thought that it was a cool look.
Yeah, it doesn't. What does it do personally? Like, does it just keep your chest warm? I've never understood the puffer jackets that are sleeveless anyway. So like, maybe it's the same deal with that. It's like
purely decorative, I think.
Yeah, if you're cold, just wear a real jacket. Like not the fur that you found that has a hole in it.
Right.
But I liked it a lot.
I liked it too, and and he got the win, so he got to wear it during his interview, and good on him for it. It was a nice win at the end of the day. So shout out to Roman Dolidze, getting his revenge on Marvin Vettori. So that is UFC Fight Night, Vettori versus Dolidze 2. After talking it through, Chase, what'd you think of the card?
I think that this card was really good. I enjoyed it, which is crazy to think, because Twitter, and I actually was going to ask you about this, it's like, do you think this has been on your side of social media? Because Twitter is going crazy about how dead it has been after this UFC card, like quote unquote, the deadest it has been since, after a UFC card is gone.
Bro, people on Twitter want just like find things to say. I think a lot of times, like, there's things to complain about. The sport has never been more entertaining or active. It is fucking awesome. Like, it's people fighting each other in a cage. It's going to be awesome. I mean, unless it's two people who literally are just inactive, but I mean, these were great fights. All of these were great. I mean, like, really, I mean, one or two that you could say are slightly less than, but I'd say that this was like an 8 out of 10 card. Honestly, this was a great card.
Hell yeah.
I agree. So many finishes. I mean, like, they're like, I think 3 fights went to decision.
Right.
This is I had a great time with this one. I've been having a great time in 2025. 2024 was one of the best years in mixed martial arts that I can remember in my time watching the sport, going on 15 years or so now, or whatever it's been. So yeah, give me a break, Twitter. Twitter can shut the fuck up.
I hear you.
But yeah, no, I thought it was awesome, and yeah, I think this was a really fun one. When I was doing the watch along, I'd been up for a long time that day. It was a long day for me. There was a lot going on at Vitz's house, a lot of people, stuff going on, whatever. Like, so I was not like fully like 100% in the headspace, but like even with that being said, it like drew it out of me. Like, I remembered why I watch this so consistently and never miss a card, is like
Yeah,
cards like this.
I hear you.
So that is that. Let's take a quick look at London. But I do have to make a very special announcement, folks. We're only going to be doing our cursory look through of this card as we do on this show. But if you are a fan and you are paying attention, you may have seen on Instagram the homie Cage Side Badger will be on a very special extra last week's fights that we are going to be doing on Thursday this week. We don't have a start time for you just yet. We're going to work that one out. But if you are around on Thursday, keep an eye out for the notifications, because we're going to be coming back. We're going to be doing a deep dive on this very card with the homie Cage Side Badger, who is from England. He's going to be attending the card. So this dude has a lot of investment in the sport over there in England, and is starting to do things in the content space himself. So we're going to have Badger on, talk this thing through in depth. So we're going to do a little look at it here, come back on Thursday. We're going to go deep diving into it. But this is UFC Fight Night, Edwards versus Brady. Starting this thing off, Leon Edwards and Sean Brady. I like this matchup. I think that this is going to be a pretty tough test for Leon Edwards.
I mean, you're saying a pretty tough test for Leon. Like, I mean, he's had really tough tests already. I mean, he's lost to Bilal. He damn near lost to Usman. Lucky he saved his fucking career against Usman. But I mean, this is just the same matchup. This is just what Bilal is. Sean Brady is just Bilal again for Leon, which is unfortunate, but it's unfortunate because, like, oh, I don't really want to see that version of Leon again, but hopefully he performs better. But I think it is, in a sense, it's like, okay, if Leon wants to be champ again, well, he's got to beat the fucking style that he couldn't fucking beat, like, so I don't mind it. Even if Sean Brady's not the guy, he might be a step closer. And if he beats Leon, wow, Leon is falling off hard.
Yeah, I think that that's a pretty accurate assessment of the situation here when it comes to Leon Edwards. I mean, really, it should be that, though, right? You're exactly right about that. It's like you have to go out there and beat that exact style. I mean, like, I'd say that Brady is slightly different, but very similar to Bilal. I think that there are subtle differences, but a lot of similarities, more similar than different. So it's like, I actually think that Sean Brady poses a very big problem for a lot of guys for that exact reason. I don't want to say that I think that he's a more evolved version of Bilal or whatever. I don't, that I would think is inaccurate, but I do think that if he was to go back up against Bilal, that there might be a bit of a different story there. I mean, like, times change, things change. We just saw the card that we just talked about, Dolidze and Vettori, close fight there in their first one. Now Dolidze gets the get back. So I think there might be potential for him going down the line here. You're saying he's not the guy. He could be the guy.
I think it's funny you're talking about things change. Leon is now coming back out talking shit on Bilal, and it's kind of funny. He's like, after I went over Brady, I'm going to call out for my rematch on the belt. And he's like, oh, if Sean Brady, if Bilal can finish you, I'm going to finish you. It's like, dog, you need to shut the fuck up. Like, you need to stop, because
humble yourself.
This didn't work out for you ever in your career. You could have got finished by Nate Diaz. Remember this.
Yeah, this is a very good point. Yeah, the career of Leon Edwards has been just an interesting set of circumstances that have led us to where we are now. And sometimes those kinds of things happen at the highest levels, but it always catches up in some way, shape, or form. And that's what I think we are in the process of seeing. And I think it's going to continue here.
Hopefully, yeah.
I mean, I'm not praying on Leon's downfall. I
can't. I'll say it.
All right. Well, then you could be a hater. I'm not a hater myself. But I mean, look, we have a lot of homies from England, of course. Obviously they're all rooting for their boy. I
I
don't
don't
dislike.
really think most of them are, guys. Like, this dude really makes a mockery of their fucking place. Like, he comes out here and stinks up the cage.
Makes a mockery. You're talking about a former
Yes,
champion there, sir.
bro.
Headshot bang.
Watch how he lost his fucking belt, and he's probably about to lose it to Brady too. You know, the fact that he won his belt after losing for 24 minutes straight, like, it's
Yeah.
not a very convincing argument to say, like, oh man, he's the fucking best. Like, so I don't know. I don't think people ride hard for Leon, even the natives of England. Like, I don't think they're on Leon's back. I mean, in this matchup, they should be, because Sean Brady,
In
Leon
London.
Leon should beat Sean Brady. But like JDM, I could see why people in London will be like, well, shit, fucking Leon does kind of fucking suck, you know? Like, he has let us down. So I don't know.
Leon does not fucking suck. All right.
Come
Let's
on. Oh my
get
goodness.
I can't let that slide, bro. Come on. Leon does not suck. His takedown defense is generally pretty good, Bilal aside. But Bilal is a different beast though. I mean, like that,
Usman aside too.
I mean, all right, fair enough. I don't think that he sucks though. I think that he is going
Fair.
to
He
be able.
doesn't suck. He
Yeah,
doesn't suck, but for the
come on.
champion right now in current state, he should be doing better with his
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, and look, this is his opportunity to do just that, right? I mean, this, come out here and silence the haters is exactly what his mission should be. And you're exactly right. He should not be out here running his mouth. He needs to be locked in, focused, humble, and coming in here to win a fight in front of the home crowd. Get your sleep, Leon
Yeah, bro.
Edwards.
Rocky was not like, he was not an asshole shit talker. Like, I don't get it, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just him trying to gain a little bit more star power, trying to maybe drum up a little bit more of, sell the fight, whatever it may be. Point is that I don't want to hear anything about not having enough sleep. I don't want to hear anything about, any level of excuses of to why, you got spiked on your head in your fight with Bilal and all this kind of stuff. You need to come out here and put on the show of your life against Sean Brady, who a lot of people have been skeptical of for a long time, even though again, look, you might not like the wrestle heavy styles. A lot of guys want to see the hand throwing. That's what they come to the sport for. Everybody loves a knockout. I get all of it, but it has been effective for him. We've talked about the finish against Bilal and, the dynamics of that one, stopped on the feet, all of that stuff. Sean Brady is good at what he does. You got to acknowledge that the same way that you can dislike Bilal. Look, I don't think that Bilal is that, a guy that I would like want to hang out with off, outside of the cage or anything like that. I don't listen to his, cage or car podcast thing that he does, or, his little lives that he goes on where he's talking shit in the car. I do think that he's a little bit of a dork, but all of that being said, he is effective. Same with Sean Brady. So I think that they're slightly different, very similar, and it's going to be the styles that make fights in this one. Leon needs to figure something out real quick with this fight.
Hell yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I think that we're both going for Brady on that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
I,
right.
I probably will still put money on Leon because that dog is kind of speaking to me, but we'll see.
All right. Look, I mean, and there very well might be some rabbit in the hat for him that, he former champion can figure some things out, I think.
It'll just give me more fuel to come on here and talk about him. So
yeah, exactly. Fair enough. But all right, and again, we'll go into these all in a lot more depth with Badger. But coming up in the co-main, Jan Blachowicz coming back after a long layoff. God, I didn't even know that this dude was still an active fighter for half the time that he was out of here. But Jan Blachowicz coming back against Carlos Ulberg. I really like this fight, but I don't like it for Blachowicz.
yeah, gut is telling me that Jan should be able to do it because the Polish power, who's never been, he doesn't get finished or whatever it is. Has he been finished? Oh, he has been subbed and knocked out. Wow.
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm actually believing more that Ulberg will actually pull a finish off on him. I don't know. The youth is hard to go against, but Ulberg is only, he's 34 though. Like, he ain't no spring chicken. So I don't know. This is hard.
It doesn't have anything to do with the age when it comes to this one to me, man. I mean, age maybe a little bit for Jan because he is, later, but like I'm just talking skill for skill at this point. I feel like we've talked a lot on this very episode about evolving fighters and like getting better over time. Ulberg, I think, has really shown that. Like he looks sharper and sharper in his fights. I feel. I mean, like the striking has always been pretty good for him, but he's really locked in his last couple of fights. I just think he's going to be able to overwhelm Jan. And Jan, sadly, because I do like Jan Blachowicz. I mean, I think that he is a technically savvy fighter. I would call him. I think that he adapts to fights well, but I really think that the navigation is going to be on Olberg's side. The only thing I could say for Jan is he might have some possible chance on the ground if he can get it down.
I hear you.
So that's what I'm thinking on that one. So I'm going to go with Carlos Olberg. Just I think that he's I think it's one of those deals too where it's like it's his time, and Jan probably shouldn't even be coming back at this point. Like after that long of a layoff, I don't know.
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. Well, moving on, Gunnar Nelson versus Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland getting booked yet again. How many times can we see Kevin Holland lose a fight? I don't know, but do you think he's going to be able to beat Gunnar Nelson?
Yeah, he'll probably win this one.
You think so? I don't know. I mean, this is one where, I mean, Gunnar Nelson is like pretty goddamn good on the ground. He's one of those dudes that's like in the background, constantly winning fights and never getting any kind of real recognition.
Yeah, but like Kevin Holland is also decent on the ground. He's like decent enough that where he'll pull off stuff against a guy that you would say is good, but then also is going to get ragdolled by Hamzat, just like everybody else. I mean, Rene de Ritter subbed him, but like he's on the path to greatness right now. Gunnar Nelson is just another step in the mud kind of guy. I think Kevin Holland probably gets this one done. Keep his name relevant if he is trying to be the big mouth still. So,
did I just hear that you said that Kevin Holland is on a path to greatness?
No. Rene de Ritter.
Rene de Ritter. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure that I dropped out for a second there.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, but yeah, because Kevin Holland is I mean, the fact that he like you talk about a guy who has survived off of his, I guess, willingness to accept fights and because of that likability, star power, good graces of the organization. I don't know. It's some combination of all of those things. But the fact that Kevin Holland is now on like a 5 or 6 fight losing streak, I want to say, or is it 7 fight losing streak?
Hell no.
Kevin Holland? Yeah, dude.
No,
Kevin,
2.
Okay, well then, so if it's not a streak, then it is. Yeah, it's 1 in 4 in his last 5. And then, if you're going even farther back, I mean, he's basically candy cane on steroids, essentially, not actual steroids, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, like 2 losses, 2 wins, 2 losses, win, loss. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's OD candy cane right now. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how much longer he can sustain off of all of those things that I just mentioned, his good graces with the organization, his likability, all that kind of stuff. So if he loses to Gunnar Nelson 3 in a row with the record that we just looked at for a second there, I can't imagine that Kevin Holland continues to get booked this way.
Hell yeah. I agree.
All right. Molly McCann.
Never going to take her. Never taking Molly.
Even against Alexia Thainara?
Yeah, probably not. Go ahead and name them again so we get the whole name.
Yeah. Sure. It's Molly McCann versus Alexia Thainara.
Now I'll tell you, never picking Molly. Never. Never.
Yeah, Molly is one who we talk about good navigation of fights. Molly does not spring to mind in that category.
Yeah, she probably loses. Hopefully. I mean, just not gonna bet on the meatball. I mean, just not gonna do that.
Yeah, I would stay away from this fight altogether because this is definitely one of those fights. Because Thainara is one that I want to say. Okay, shit, my bad. I thought that she had been more spotty than that. She is riding high on a very nice streak here.
She's a submission artist too. I didn't know this.
11-1 with a good amount of submissions. Yeah, I think Thainara might actually go ahead and walk through this one, perhaps.
Good.
Yeah, I think you know who I was confusing her with Jocelyn Edwards. That's what it was.
Oh my Lord.
That is wow, what a stark difference that is. Okay. Thainara, get the job done. Meatball Molly. I mean, again, another person who has a lot of fans in the country, kind of a hometown hero sort of situation with Molly McCann, but I wouldn't be riding with that.
True.
This is a fight that has had a lot of conversation in the Discord. This is Jordan Vucenic versus Chris Duncan. Of course, shout out to our friend Tosh, who is a student, I guess, of Duncan, or trains within his purview or something like that. Either which way, I know that he is riding very heavily for Chris Duncan, but Jordan Vucenic, even though he lost his last fight, looked pretty good in that fight, I want to say.
I just want you guys to know, I'm going to say this on the podcast. I said it on the stream that day, and I told Tosh to his face, or if you know him by Chris, aka, I told him that night over the weekend, before that card, whatever it was, that I had a dream, dude. I had a dream that Jordan Vucenic was choking Chris Duncan out from a rear naked choke. And dude, he didn't want to believe me. He didn't want to
I don't
believe
want to
me.
believe you either.
No, but like it's crazy to me. And you know how real it was is because like I don't even know who this Jordan dude is, but like I had the vision, and then when I saw him, I'm like, holy shit, that's the dude who was choking out Chris Duncan. Like, listen, I'm telling you,
I
if
was
it
gonna say, how could you
happens,
not know him though? I mean, like he's the dude with the insane amount of ink on his body. It looked like he's fucking ink poisoning. They don't have the picture here, but you can see it a
he's
little.
never fought. I mean, he's only fought once in the UFC
Yeah,
or
he's only
whatever.
fought the one time. That is true.
But so like if it happens, if Jordan gets a rear naked on Chris Duncan, we might need to have me checked for some sentient beings. Like I'm on it with I'm not gonna say listen, I might sprinkle a little something on it. Actually, you know what? I'll stay here now. I won't. I'll just let it be. If it happens, it happens. Just know that you got to listen to my dreams. But Jordan rear naked choke Chris Duncan. I don't want it to happen. Chris Duncan is a pretty big dog. I don't know how. I thought he was the way, the way Tosh was explaining it. This dude was a fucking 800 favorite. Like Jesus. Like
Yeah, the glaze is pretty heavy for Duncan in the Discord at the moment from that one individual. But yeah, no, Vucenic, he looked pretty good in that fight against Dolidze.
yes,
Yeah, I thought that he was one of those guys. From that fight, my takeaway was like work on a few things and you'll come out and get a win. So this should be the opportunity for that. I want to believe in Chris Duncan. I thought that his, the guillotine that he sunk in his last fight was very impressive and nearly murdered his opponent because no one knew that it was actually secured. So good for him on that one. But I'm going to be riding with Vucenic on this one as well. I don't know if it's because of your dreams, but if you're having visions in your dreams, I do hope that they are better than the ones that Bryce Mitchell is having.
I don't. Bryce Mitchell seems like he's having good visions. It's fucking hot women. Like what the heck, trying to get him to cheat?
But they're demon women, though, brother.
Harpies and witches and succubuses. He's got a whole range of people in his dreams. I don't blame him.
Hey, do not bring a globe around that man.
Yeah, trust.
All right. Moving on here, Nathaniel Wood versus Morgan Charrier. Nathaniel Wood, of course, another hometown favorite over there in England, a ambassador of the sport of MMA in England, but he is going up against the Frenchman Morgan Charrier, who has, in my opinion, been one of the better French prospects that we've seen in recent years.
This one is interesting because I like Nathaniel Wood because he's a family man on Twitter. And he talks about, his daughter and
He's
all
a good
that
guy.
stuff. But, yeah, he's a pretty cool dude, but I can't necessarily say that I would bet on him for anything that has to do with what I've seen in the cage. I'm looking at it right now. He's went to decision in all of his last 5, won 4 of them unanimously. So that might be a good bet for me is Nathaniel Wood by decision, but I don't know. Cherie has a lot of losses. I mean, but he's got 12 knockouts. Damn, he does be knocking people out. Gabriel Miranda, I do remember that. That dude has a lot of subs. Either way.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like Charrier is another one of these dudes where I don't think that the record tells the story of the fighter. And I was as skeptical as anybody because I am traditionally just skeptical of French fighters. It is what it is. You can call me a hater. You can call me whatever you want because of that. The sport only was legalized in France a few years ago. So, I mean, literally a few years ago. I mean, we watched the first card in Paris, 3 years ago, something like that, 3 or 4. So all of that being said, it takes time to develop these camps, and the fighters have to rise to the level of the UFC. So we're starting to see it more and more, though. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, I acknowledge it when it is legit. For as I am, great example of a dude training out of France who has been doing some really nice things. Charrier, I think, another example of that.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I'm riding with Morgan Charrier on that one. I really would like to hope that some of these English people are going to get some wins over here. But going up next, Jai Herbert versus Chris Padilla. Padilla getting pretty nasty a while back at least. But did he lose his last one?
No, he won by an elbow. Yep, Dr.
Oh, that was
Rangju.
the yes, that was the wrong shoe. Okay, I thought that was the fight before that, but no, yes, that was okay. That's why we had talked about it was because we were talking about wrong shoe, who was on the wrong side of that.
Yeah, I might take Jai Herbert on this one just because Padilla was, I think, losing up until the moment that he got that just kind of wicked placement on an elbow. So I would probably take Jai Herbert on this one.
Yeah, I mean, Jai Herbert is one of those guys that like it seems like there's just some element of his game that is like holding him back from being like truly an elite fighter. Like
His age.
it could be that. I mean, like I don't because he's a good striker. I mean, like he's got nice kicks. His hands are nice. I mean, like he seems pretty decent in a lot of ways, but he's just gone up against guys who are able to figure it out. And when it counts, he's not able to eke it out. 13-5. I mean, it's not a terrible record. So, there's nothing to say he can't get a win here. I think I'm on the fence about this one. I'll tentatively go with Jai Herbert too. I feel like Chris Padilla could pull this off, but I'll stick with Jai Herbert. Why not?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, Lonier Kavanaugh, the Contender Series phenom, going up against Felipe Dos Santos. I love this fight. This is a great fight in the making here. Kavanaugh not looking so hot in his last fight, though. I remember thinking that, like, the guy that we saw annihilate a person on the Contender Series was not the same dude in his last fight. It wasn't a bad fight. He still won the fight, but it was a lot closer than I was hoping it was going to be. And then Felipe Dos Santos, another guy who I thought was going to be doing better than he ended up doing. I believe Dos Santos was a victim of Andre Lima, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Edgar Chairez.
No, Andre Lima.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah. In the last one there. Was he against Chairez? No,
Chairez. I am thinking of someone else.
Yeah, say a different Dos Santos, perhaps.
This one I'm going to take Lonier. Yeah, he's pretty impressive. This is another one where instantly I saw flyweight prospect potential. Felipe Dos Santos is they just got to get him another matchup. I mean, he's young, so that's another reason why they would do this. It's like, okay, let's see who's gonna use what they've learned so far to the better. Josh Van versus Ray Saruya was another good example of this. We get somebody who's young that's had a couple fights already against somebody who's young who's only had one fight. We'll see how they've adapted so far, and I think Lonier is going to be real good. I think this will be fine, even though he's really fucking short. I mean, we got to remember that he's a fucking hobbit.
Yeah, he's a tinier guy for sure. That all being said, yes, I want to believe in Lonier Kavanaugh, one of his students, friend of the channel as well. So I mean, I'm riding for him for that reason. But I did think that Felipe Dos Santos, when he fought Manel Kopp, looked like he was a dude who was going to go on to do better things in the sport. Did lose to Andre Lima, but of course, we just talked about how the opinions about Lima might be evolving a little bit here. The fight with Dos Santos was one of those ones, though, that Lima didn't really have to do all that much. So that gives me a little bit of pause. I'm a little conflicted on this fight for this reason, because the storyline that you're laying out makes a lot of sense, where it's like a dude who's had a little bit of experience, but also young, versus a dude who is, really just starting out with all of this in the grand scheme of things. So it's a bit of a toss-up for me on this one. I'm leaning a little bit towards Dos Santos, but I want Kavanaugh to show me up, make me believe.
I hear you.
All right. Tybura versus Parkin. Marcin Tybura, Mick Parkin.
This one, I'm hesitant to go with Mick. I feel like that would be nice for him to go ahead and show that he's a heavyweight that's going to stick around. But Tybura, for some reason, is able to make things dirty. Will Mick Parkin go out here and starch him in the first round, though? Probably, if he's not going to be a decision merchant again. Tybura, though, I don't know. I could just see him going out there trying to stand for a second and getting wobbled. I don't think he's going to have the success that he did against Denise. That was just a rare case that he was just able to just mop that dude just so quickly in the last 10 seconds of the first round. Mick Parkin, I mean, the story is he trains with Tom. I mean, that's his grappling partner, or maybe it's a meme. I don't know. So will we see some of it? I don't think so. I'm going to go ahead and hope Mick Parkin starches him in the first round.
All right. Well, fair. Tybura, the O taker over here, perhaps. It could happen. I mean, the very experienced guy, heavyweight, could go either way as usual. Uh, I'll ride with McParkin too. Why not? Again, I want
Hell
to have.
yeah.
I want to think that that some of these English fighters can actually get a win at home. So
Mhm.
I'll go with that. But I do see a world where Marcin Tybura is able to get it to the ground and have his way down there, something like that. It's possible, at least.
We'll see. He might. Hey,
It's a big we'll
Tybura.
see. It's a big we'll see.
Tybura's an interesting case, man.
Yeah. Man, there are a lot of fucking fights on this card.
I know. I know.
Christian Leroy Duncan versus Andre Puliev. I don't remember Puliev. Is he a Contender Series guy? I think he is.
He is.
All right. Christian Leroy Duncan just lost to RoboCop.
Yes, which wasn't the worst loss at the time because RoboCop is actually an animal who will just walk down everybody and just put them out their misery. But like Christian Leroy Duncan, he did make it to the bell. He didn't get finished, but it was 3 rounds. So maybe if there was 5, maybe he would have done better. As we see, RoboCop just doesn't have the fucking gas tank. But this one, I'm taking CLD, man. I got to get my boy back on the hype. I got to get a win for him.
I think that he should be able to do the damn thing. Is Puliev? He's not the. Is he the dude from Glory?
Probably not.
No,
it's just the same name.
No, the dude, the one who beat Alex, the one that they were talking up.
Oh,
is that him?
Right.
I think it might be. He did not look spectacular in that fight. He did end up winning the fight.
I feel like maybe. I mean, this is a Russian guy. I feel like this doesn't look like that guy though. I feel like it looks like more like a white guy, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. We'll come back. This is what you come back on Thursday for. We'll have all the research done at that point. Badger will talk us all through it. But as of right now, on this here show, last week's fights, I'll also go with Christian Leroy Duncan.
Good deal.
Shauna Bannon versus Pooja Tomar, the Indian phenom over here, versus Shauna, who's, I mean, she's a fighter. What are you thinking?
I actually liked her in her last performance, especially when I compare what these women fight like at the time. They fight exactly the same. In Shauna's last performance, she used a lot of the side kicks. She was staying on the outside very well. She's very, very long and lanky. So like with the new Taekwondo that she's picked up, it works very well for her. And I feel like she'll have a very long, rangy sparring match with Pooja Tomir. And I think she'll go ahead and win. I mean, I like Pooja, but like I gotta be real here. I think Shauna has the skills to change if the Taekwondo is not working. And if it is, I think she'll be able to keep the range way better. Like, I mean, the reach, like 59-inch reach for Pooja, and she's 5'4". I mean, talk about hobbits. I mean,
yeah. Pooja she's a tough competitor. She's definitely one that like comes out like really intense in the fight. So like I could see her possibly overwhelming Bannon, but I'll agree with that. I've never been super sold on Bannon's skill set, but she is getting better. I mean, she's only 6-1. She's still kind of early on. So, I mean, I think that that's a pretty accurate assessment. I think that the overall well-roundedness should be there for Bannon to take this fight.
Hell yeah.
All right. Nathan Fletcher versus Kalen Loughran, my mistake. Nathan Fletcher is our homie off the the Ultimate Fighter, and Kalen Loughran coming off of a loss.
Yes. I also heard, and take this as you will, Ali, you may know all, but Nathan Fletcher did beat Kalen in the amateurs.
I saw that. He said that, yeah.
Doesn't necessarily make or break the world, but I was leaning towards Kalen just because this is going down a weight class for Nathan Fletcher, by the way. He's normally at featherweight, going down to bantamweight. So I was thinking, okay, maybe a bad cut, maybe he's a little drained. Kalen gets a late knockout, but Nathan Fletcher, he is pretty fucking good at wrestling. Trains with Patty, and I remember last year that Kalen and Patty were beefing on the bus, and Patty was telling him, like, the bantamweights in his camp will come and mop him. So we'll see.
And he did sub Jiggy Mantis in that fight. Yeah, the one that he ended up getting cut. So Yeah. All right. I'll go with it. I mean, Fletcher. He looked good to me. I mean, he passed the eye test, so
Yeah,
I'm
there you
okay
go.
with it. I think I do like that fight because I think that Loughran, he's another one of these like kind of bulldogish fighters. Like he'll go out there and bring the fight to him. So
Mhm.
hopefully it'll be a decent scrap there. And yeah, Nathan Fletcher get the job done.
And then this one.
Yeah, Guram Kutateladze versus Koi Fernandez starting this card off. What are your thoughts here?
This one sucks. I could care less.
Yeah, I think that's probably somewhat accurate. I think that Kutateladze should be able to figure this out.
Nice. There we go. Shout out Georgia. Yeah, they're on top for this year, so it probably is going to come to fruition.
I hope so, man. I don't know. I mean, as far as this fight goes, this is kind of sort of just a warm up for everything. So whatever it may
Get your
be.
hot dog type fight.
Yeah, exactly. But there you go. Lots of fights coming at you in London. We will go over all of them more in depth on Thursday. And of course, we will be watching all of these fights on our individual watch alongs. Me and the Vitz King will be right here on the Yama channel. That's youtube.com/@Yama Show. And Chase, I know that you can tell them where they can find you.
They can find me on youtube.com/@CP Smalls. It's going across the screen right there. And I will be doing the watch alongs on that channel. I will have predictions out this week. And I'm going to hold myself to that. And also you can find me on Twitter hanging around, or X if you call it, at Creative Partin, Partin. Jeez, I don't know my own things.
We're going to get these plugs down for you one day, brother. We're going to get you the media training, and then these plugs are going to be so smooth. You can find me on X and on Instagram at Yama Show on both of those. The Facebook page is up. I don't have a handle for you just yet, trying to work that out, but I'll get that for you. If you search Yelling About Mixed Martial Arts, you can find it that way for now. Either which way, holler at you boys over here. Should have some new content coming out on the channel this week. Shorts from the last Yam episode are definitely going out, so keep an eye out for those. We will be back. As always, everybody, have a great rest of your week. And until we see you next time, fight on.
Game.